Hello and welcome to the Nash Tackle Off the Hook podcast. Just to make you aware, this podcast may contain some explicit/offensive language, and if that's not your thing, you don't have to listen, but I have given you a warning. I hope you enjoy the rest of the show.
You don't know the half of it, but anyway, I'm skating on the thinnest ice known to man.
He said, and they put a poison in the tank that just instantly kills them. He went and we'd run out of it, so we cut their heads off with shovels.
Suddenly, bang! The whole boat exploded.
Take your sort of 8-inch long piranha and imagine that at 4, 5, maybe 6 feet.
I said, I've revived your dead fish. F off, he said. You haven't.
That was just humongous. It was... I couldn't believe what I was looking at.
I'm just battling this fish out, and I know it's a black man. I'm saying I'll never be a naughty boy again.
If you catch fish and you return them to the water, then you are my brother.
Hello and welcome to the Nash Tackle Off the Hook podcast. This week's guest, 2 words, Eggy Lad, none other than Burghfield common captor, top all-round character and brilliant angler, Scott Lloyd. But before we bring Scott out, I've got the boss in. Kevin, welcome for a bit of Nash News. How are you?
I'm great. Just back from a holiday, enjoying life to the full. COVID's hopefully behind us now. Well, a few restrictions, it's just great. You know, so I'm not doing a lot of work, confess.
Well, too right, mate.
I'm having the summer off, really. Just keeping up the innovations, which is all I'm going to do going forward. Let the kids run the business now, so I'm really enjoying life. A lot of time up the church with the anglers. Oh, we had Phil Foden on this weekend with his dad. I guess a lot of people have seen that on social.
Yeah.
Amazing weekend. It really was great. 16 carp, I think, in 2 nights.
Some going there.
At the church. Oh, the church is on fire. Absolutely on fire. Biggest Alfie decided to keep for himself. Not much more to say about that. I can't remember what the weight was. It 46 or 48. But,
the big common anyway.
Yeah. But Phil, I think, it's dream lake in it, the church. I was talking to Tom about it. Yeah, we both stopped counting. Around 600 people have had PBs. It could be over 1,000 now. Phil broke his PB twice.
So did his dad, didn't he?
Yeah, I think his dad did as well. Lovely story there, the lads told me, because I said if he catches a big one, give me a shout and I'll come down and have a pick with him. And I had friends staying the weekend. My best friend, actually, Rachel from Tackle Up Berry. Big shout to Rachel. He caught the carp just as they were pouring the gravy on the roast dinner. So I need to say I wouldn't go down there. I didn't go down there, but the lads told me afterwards. He said he was more nervous playing that carp than any football match or penalty shootout he's been in.
It's mad, isn't it?
He was proper on it, though. Yeah, when I went down to talk to him, I noticed all the time he was turning around watching the lake. Yeah, that's a sharp lad.
He is mad.
Big respect to Phil Foden. Yeah.
Well, he's become a bit of a celebrity's playground, mate. You've had Jeremy Wade up there. I got Phil Foden. Yeah. You got him next, mate. It's mad.
Oh, can't say.
You're holding them back. What I wanted to talk about, and it's sort of reference to church because it's one of the rules, is the age-old debate of barbed versus barbless, mate, and where you stand on that. I know it's been sort of talked about. I've never had the privilege of having my own fishery to put the rules in, but you've obviously got the church, and that is a distinct rule on the list.
Yeah, well, where do I stand on it? I'll tell you where I stand. I stand on my basic rule of fishery management. If you want to know about fisheries, talk to the guys who've lived it, not ones who've just come out of university. Going through all the experiences of deaths and everything, and that's where I stand with barbless hooks. I was a barbed hook angler. The barbless hook debate was really hot when I first dug the church. In fact, if I remember, Cemex banned barbless hooks because they said they kept tearing in carp's mouths. So I was really on the fence, but a lot of the stock that went, particularly in the Cops Lake, came from an ex-Etiquette water. I'd followed them around, and the main stock were from a syndicate lake in Hampshire that closed down called Broad Oak, and then they were sold off to various fisheries. And the number was sold to a day ticket lake, which closed down. I was very anxious to get hold of them, knowing how good the the strain was. But my reservation was, their mouths were probably going to be trashed because they've been in this highly pressured day ticket lake. And when we netted them, I couldn't believe it. Their mouths were perfect. The owner had a Barbless hook well, and so I've adopted it ever since. And I'm so grateful I did. The church carp are renowned for the good condition. We've had a couple of broken tails. Anglers struggle to hold such big fish. That's life. In fact, next year I think we're going to change the rule and only have photo captures in the water.
Yeah,
because we've got a new. It's no secret now. We've got a new retainer coming out that can open up to act as a floating cradle in the water. So once that's on the market, I think I'm going to stop fish photos on the bank because even the very best, occasionally have an accident. But anyway, I digress. All the mouths are absolutely immaculate. Just like Royston, we've got the same rule. Occasionally catch someone, they get chucked off, being so stupid. But I don't really understand why there's this got to use a barb at all costs. Really, unless you're unlucky, there's no less chance of losing a fish with a barbless hook than a barbed hook. If you're a good angler, if you keep the line tight, it ain't going to fall out. And you see it up on the church. There's no more carp lost up on the church because of the barbless rule than there is barbed. But the point is, your carp don't get damaged, mouths don't get damaged. So absolute joy for the photographs. But the other big thing is they're not getting any tissue damage. People might be really stunned to know how much that can knock a carp's growth back. I had a carp with a big sore. It was nearly 30 pounds, and it took 4 years to heal that sore. In the time it took to heal that sore, its weight remained at that, whereas all its mates went up to 40 pound. It caught up with him in the end, but the big common's been a bit down, and that's because it had its tail broken. It's been repairing that. So that's another good reason why I would say to fisheries, ignore all this rubbish about barbed and barbless hooks ripping out, because they don't.
Because that's the age-old sort of thinking, isn't it? That if you've got a barbless hook, the hook hold isn't as secure, so there's movement. Therefore, there's the ability potentially to turn out, bigger.
I've thought about that. The only thing I can conclude is in the early days, most of barbless hook patterns weren't proper carp hooks. They was thinner in the wire. Yeah. So maybe Waters, enforced a barbless, a barbed rule, no barbed rule hooks, and so the anglers are using hooks with too thin a wire. That's all I can think. But they don't. Barbless hooks do not damage fish mouths. Full stop.
And for you said earlier, there's no, and I've seen it because I've obviously been at the church when I've come to film, is that it is weedy and fish do get in the weed, and they're still sort of, in terms of if you fished a likeness, they're not losing fish untoward in the weed. Do you think that barbless hooks in weed for you is a good measure, because it's not always possible to keep that line tight if they are snarled in a ball of weed, for example?
I kind of disagree. I think if they swam into a load of weed, by definition, they're keeping the line tight.
Right.
You see it. People get bogged down with carp in the weed. Go and get the boat. They haven't got anyone to help them. So they just leave the rod in. The rest they go and get the boat, go out, and they're still attached. Because the line by definition is pulled tight in the weed.
Yeah.
I'll tell you a story. This is going back a long time. I was fishing a real windy night on a lake, and I got two bleeps in the middle of the night, and it was so cold, it was freezing, it was winter. I couldn't be asked to go and look at the rod, but it just bothered me. I lay there, and I woke up probably a couple of hours later. I reckon it was 2-3 hours later, I got up, went to the rod, and it was a margin rod, and the fish had shot down the margin, and it had pulled the rod out the buzzer. Luckily, I have my famous hallmark clips on the butt, so it stayed on the butt. And it had run about 40-50 metres down the lake into an old dead lily pad. I thought, well, I've got no chance of this fish being attached. I thought it just snagged on the lilies, but it weren't. It was still on. And that was a barbless hook. 3 hours it'd been on. Like I say, if you shouldn't lose any more fish. If you do, it's because your line's going slack. But the condition is so important for the fish.
One other aspect, I wanted to talk about was etiquette. There's been a lot of debate around the scene changing about etiquette in carp fishing going awry. For you, coming from sort of the formative years of the scene all the way through to the modern scene, what are your thoughts on that?
What etiquette? It's gone. If you look at the history of carp fishing, there's my generation, which was really the first generation where carp fishing started kicking off, 70s. Then you had the second generation, that would have been the Rob Malins and those sort of people, just behind us, say 5 years behind us. All real keen, breaking all the trailblazing. I think everything was basically learnt about carp fishing by the early 90s. Then you had this next generation where businesses come in and wanted to really promote the sport. Companies like Calder, the Calder were undoubtedly played a big part in popularising carp fishing. And in that, the huge number of people that came into the sport, the gentlemanly way of the sport, if you like, and respecting a guy who, for example, was baiting a swim and so you wouldn't go and fish it. Respecting a guy in needs space while he's on fish, you don't go and cast near him. All that just disappeared. Last time I saw it on the Syndicate water was Harefield. Ball breaker water, but it's like a band of brothers. If one of your mates, was on fish, you could get really big hits in there. If one of your mates was on fish, you just want him to focus and make the most of it. So you'd be making tea and bacon sandwiches for him. Real respect, and say, but no, it's gone now. So it's become too mainstream. It's a different generation, different mentality. They don't know what it was like and what we had. I think, sadly, that's probably the reason why most of my generation don't fish or don't fish on circuit waters anymore. I occasionally bump into the old school and still fishing. Yeah, I'm doing a bit. Found myself a little water tucked away. So they've lessened their targets, if you like. It's just all about peace and being able to fish how you want to fish. The last time I had it was when me and Anna were on the big pit. That's where I invented the scope concept. What's that? 7-8 years ago, and I just so loved those 3 years on there because I hadn't experienced it for probably 20, and I knew it wasn't going to last forever. And I said to Anna, this is the end of my carp fishing. Not literally, but the end of my carp fishing. Because we had 110 acres of swamp, brambles. It's hard work, but unknown carp, not massively big. In fact, while I was over there fishing for unknown 30s, maybe 140, I had a fish killed up on the church and 5 50s died. I said to Alan, I've never fished a church much. I've never fished a church other than unless it was with a friend or filming, and I'd never caught any of those 5 50s. And yet there's me getting bitten, scratched to death, fishing for 30s, and I think that sums it up. Say that's what I was looking for. That wilderness type fishing we used to have, where well, in fact you could do what you like. I think one night Alan had 16 rods out, but no bailiffs breathing down your neck. Don't get me wrong, I understand we need rules, but a lot of the rules nowadays are just rules for rules' sake. I've only got 2 on the church, as you know. They're only surround the protection of the fish, But yes, so if you want to put it that way, etiquette has gone out the window, but because they don't know any better, and they never had, what we had, That's life. Times. Everything moves on, doesn't it?
Of course. Kev, as always, a fountain of knowledge and absolute gen.
My pleasure.
Thoroughly enjoyed you having me. I look forward to getting you on another full podcast soon, mate.
Oh, it's been a while. Look, after you drag me out every week to get you out of the shit with COVID, have I really got to do another one?
Mate, I've missed you. You definitely have. You take care. We'll see you soon,
okay,
mate.
Mate, cool. Bye.
Scott Lloyd, welcome to the podcast. Eggy Lad, how are you?
I'm all good. Thanks for having me.
This is the second time we've tried to make this happen. What happened the first time, Scott? Tell the audience.
You got egged live on camera.
That was the last time we met, and genuinely the last time we met, I ended up with an egg on my head in a bivvy on Dinton, didn't I?
Yeah, I remember.
Sorted into.
You were like, hair and makeup.
That's me all the time. You know that. But last time you meant to come here, what happened, Scott?
Right. I thought you were on about last time. Right. Okay. Yeah. So last time I was meant to come here, my fridge was broke.
He gave it the
no,
big,
but genuinely, my lights were flashing on my van. All that. I was coming from Dinton, like I have today, by the way. That's why I smell like a foot. I actually put a bit of deodorant on before I come in, but I've just done. Apologies if you can smell me. I've just done 3 nights on Dinton. Come over. That's why I'm in Carpy attire for those that are watching. Oh, knocking the mic. Sorry, mate. Is that non-professional?
No, you're okay, mate. You're live.
So for them that are listening and not watching, I'm wearing full Carpy attire. I'm not like one of them guys at the Carp show that turns up in all his camo.
That's you today, mate. You've even got Fortis Vistas on your head.
Yeah, well, this is my image, isn't it? You know, copyright this.
This. Yeah, last time, I think every sort of workplace has probably had that employee who's a carp angler who rings up and gives you like a bit of a lame excuse because it's bite time, there's something happening, they want to stay on the lake. Scott's done that to me and he's gone, my fridge is broke, my van's going. There was 4 excuses in one. I was like, he's definitely on fishing and living the dream. So thank you for coming this time, mate.
Yeah, it's all right.
Good job that the old fridge mechanic's been out and the van mechanic's been out and we're all good.
Well, it was good because I had to stay off my Instagram story, didn't I? You know what I mean? I couldn't put anything up for a while because I thought Hassan's going to clock it and no one blagging it. No, it was a genuine excuse, mate.
Fair play, mate. I don't doubt it for a second. But you've been well, you've been fishing, living the dream, life is all good.
Yeah, had quite a bit of time off fishing. People might know, people might not know. I'm sure we'll come to it in a bit why, but yeah, I had quite a bit of time off. Sort of 6, 8 months off fishing. I was doing little bits and bobs, but I'm back out now. Absolutely all guns blazing, keen as mustard on Dinton, which I'm sure we'll come to in a bit. I'm sure you've got some sort of schedule of what you want to run through potentially in your mind, mate. But yeah, I'm back out. Everything's good. I'm catching, although I didn't this week. It is my first bank since I've been back out, though, Dinton-wise, which is good going on there.
Good going, yeah. It's not easy, is it,
mate? But yeah, everything's good. What about you, mate? You good?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. I'm I'm here.
I really need to change. I was. I need to get around to changing your name in my phone.
What have you got me in as?
I can't really say. No, it's Hassan Angling Direct.
That's all right, mate.
Do you miss saying your famous catchphrase?
I will for you.
Can we get one
every morning? I will pull that out and send it to you on a voice note, mate. Strategically. I'm also going to try and dig out that video of you egging me because I think that's quite good comedy.
Yeah, to be fair, it'd be worth seeing again. I've got it as my screensaver.
I bet you have.
No, to be honest, I've got a lot of names in my phone saved as well. I've got Max Hendry Advanced Carp.
Really?
Ben Wales Carp Talk. Tom Gibson Aqua. He hasn't earned his stripes yet, though. He's still Aqua.
He was with me yesterday, mate. Fair play, Gibbo.
Right,
we're going to go fishing.
Yep.
I want early days Scott Lloyd, how you got to where I probably first recognised you, which was Linch Hill and that complex. Talk me through the lead up to getting on there and how the carp bug bit.
I have been trying to, I'll be honest, I tried to have a bit of a think last night about where this was going to go, you know, as you do. And I had a feeling you were going to delve like right back. And I just thought, I can't remember anything.
You sure?
I can, you know, to be fair, fishing's one of them things, isn't it? What you just never forget. You know, like even the smallest of weights from, you know, certain captures and stuff like that, you just never forget it, do you? Like 25 pounds, 12 ounce was my PB back there and that sort of stuff, you know. So, yeah, luckily it's all up here in the locker. A lot has gone on between then and now, but you never forget it. So, fishing sorry, mate, moving away from the mic.
You're okay.
Look a bit dodgy, these.
Mate, this honestly, as a podcast guest, like I might as well. I'll be better at putting you in a straitjacket.
I'm having flashbacks of my younger days with this in my face. Anyway, yeah, I won't get into that. I'm only joking. Yeah, basically, fishing all started for me as a kid. You know, I, as you do, whip pole on the canal. You know, I've got pictures from right back when I was a kid. Me and my brothers and my old man, granddad, all that sort of stuff. Whip pole in, moving forward, float fishing, float ledgering. Next minute, the fish are getting bigger, better. You know, it's all about bites back then. You know, keeping you occupied. Isn't it? I actually went recently, a few days ago, with one of my mates' lads. They're only sort of 5, 7 and 10 sort of thing, and we got them on the whip pole, and actually on the sort of the lake that I started on, it's a tiny little pit, but it used to look massive when I was a kid. It used to look huge. There's this island that me and my brother used to proper whip to get it there, and honestly, it's literally, you could touch it with the tip of a 12-foot rod away. Honestly, I couldn't believe it. I haven't been there for years and years. But anyway, yeah, basically I started out, I fished all my life as a kid, and yeah, so we got bigger and better fish, if you like, got into the carp, and it all started, I would say, catching them on the float and that, but then the next step was like floating bread, you know what I mean? Just whack it into the reed sort of thing, you know what it's like back then. Just drag them out.
Exactly.
Yeah, don't try that at home. I'm not condoning that at all. But yeah, and then, yeah, just all the way through, I'd say... How do I put this? Basically, as I got to sort of that age, 13, 14, you know, I started to get a bit older. I'm one of them people who's got an addictive personality. I think we all have an angling. That's what I always say and think, you know, that's the only one thing that links us all in fishing is that addictive personality. You know, basically, if we weren't fishing, we'd be doing something else that's addictive, you know, whether it be, you know, snowboarding or, you know, going to the pub is an addiction, you know what I mean? All them sort of things. And that's my personality. And yeah, as I got to that sort of age, you know, sort of year 7 and 8 at school, you know, I started to definitely. I was a naughty bastard, like. Well, yeah. Put it polite, yeah. You know, I was driving motorbikes and cars by the time I was sort of year 7, year 8, driving school and stuff like that. And again, no, I'm not saying don't try this at home, but that's just the way it was. Yeah, where I grew up. You know, I'm not saying that I was in a land of poverty and people getting shot and stabbed and that, but yeah, that's just the way. I love motorbikes growing up, and if I couldn't get school on a motorbike, I wouldn't go in, you know, so basically my teachers just used to lead me to it as well. Like, I park at my mate's house to live near school, and I definitely went the wrong way, and fishing sort of went for a little bit. There was a small period, you know, probably a couple of years where I just went every now and then with my old man and that, and then it got to a point in school where I was that naughty, I was getting older, and I was actually getting arrested and things like that, and I think my old man, he done me the world of good really with fishing, and looking back at it now, you know, I see what he was doing. So basically, he got to a point where you know, he'd try and ground me or drag me to the lake and throw me in the motor and that, and it got to a point where I was taking me going out clothes into school with me, so I could just go straight from school on a Friday, you know, take me 99p out or quid out for me bottle of cider, and we were getting drunk. You know, that was it. And then eventually my old man had just come looking for me and get me, and we'd go fishing. And once I was there, I loved it. It was just getting there, you know, because again, you know, that age, you know, it's hard not to get involved with stuff like that, I suppose, when that's your, you know, that's where you are in life, if you know what I mean. But yeah, once I got there, you know, I was fully focused on fishing, and it actually done us the world of good. And some of my mates started coming with us. My brother used to come, obviously, but it was me and a couple of mates, Damo, Daly and all this, and we called ourselves the Carp crew, and it'd be my old man as well. But crew was spelled C-R-E-W-E, like where I'm from, obviously.
Oh, go on,
Carp crew.
You're still there now, aren't you?
Yeah, still live in Crew, mate. Oh. And yeah, basically we started to go fishing every weekend, and honestly, the amount of times that we'd get home from fishing, because back then phones weren't really, I'm not saying I'm old, but you had your Nokia 5110s and that, you know, you weren't mad on it. You didn't know what everyone else was doing. So you basically, I remember getting home from fishing all the time, and it'd be like, oh, so-and-so got arrested, or so-and-so got, you know, ended up fighting with so-and-so and all that. And looking back at it now, it done me the world of good, really. It kept me out of probably some trouble that I would have been involved in had I not had me fishing.
What sort of stuff, when you say trouble here, contextualise what you mean trouble, because there's riding motorbikes around because it's a passion and it's part of you, but then there's if you're talking about arresting and trouble, is there sort of vandalism? Is it boredom? What is it that's going on, mate?
I just think it came with the sort of lifestyle, it was drink and drugs. I'm not afraid to say, like I say, everyone's got a past. Drink, drugs, fighting, just vandalism, just standard, just terrorizing. Really, it was more not on the weak and vulnerable or anything like that. It was more sort of gang stuff, with a few gangs around our way, and we were one, and there's others, and it was just, I don't know, that was just the times we were in, and that's how it was going, and that's the sort of group of people I was in. I've had a lot of bad things happen, but you put it in your past as your past, innit?
Yeah, of course. But it's also part of what makes you and sort of shapes you. 100%.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, I remember there was a time. There was a time when we were supposed to go fishing, and I was on a bit of a madden with one of my best mate at the time, Stephen Stanley, his name is, and we were on a bit of a madden and that. My old man got me, and we were trying to get Stanley to come with us, and basically he just went off on a mad, and I ended up going fishing at a lake called Spring Pool with my dad and that. And literally the next day I had a phone call, and he'd overdosed that night. And I don't really speak about that sort of stuff, but I just thought it's on my tongue. So yeah, that's always troubled me since, but it's always driven me as well. Turn that negative into a positive. I always sort of see myself as a positive person, try and turn any negative into a positive. I had a very similar thing, when I was doing the tuitions, and I'm jumping forward a bit here, but it's apparent to the story, definitely. I had a lad called Liam Matthews on a tuition at Linch, and he come with me, and sorry mate, losing my head a bit there. Set myself down the wrong path. Yeah, so I had a lad called Liam Matthews on a tuition. I obviously didn't know him from Adam. Young lad, 17, 18, I guess. If he's listening, I apologise if you were younger or older than that, Liam. And basically, we did a tuition, blah, 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 as you do. And he ended up having a PB mirror and a PB common, which was the Baby Orange 36 and Box Common on Christchurch. This is at 44, both on washing lines, learnt loads, this, that, and the other. Skip that bit. I remember there was a part of the tuition where he said to me, and it always stuck with me, towards the end, he was like so buzzing. He was like, I'll be deadly honest with you. And I hadn't told him anything about my past, not what people know about it and that sort of thing. But he said to me, I'll be honest with you, I've been going out drinking with a few mates and that and this, that and the other, without going into too much of his story. And he said, I've lost love for fishing a bit. He said, but this is the reason I booked the tuition, to give me love back for it. And he said, I'm going to go every weekend now. I'm so buzzing for it. And give me his due. He goes every weekend, all the time. And I just think, I'm always almost bringing it back to my part of the story there. It's what my dad sort of did with me. And I weren't doing it for that reason. But when he said that, I felt that's when it sort of clicked in my head that's why my dad did it for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's it. That's where fishing started. I know I went a long way around that. But yeah, basically I knew that, a long story short, to end that sort of part of it, was I knew that fishing was a good place for me after these certain... There's other things as well that I won't go into, but when I knew them, when things like that happen, you think, fishing was my safe place there. And, although it was that drove me into fishing more, the more you do it and the more you begin to love it, it becomes the passion, and I've almost grown the passion. I'm not going fishing now to think, I'm going because I need to stay out of trouble. The passion's now in there, and that's where it was bred from. If that makes sense.
That definitely makes sense. Well, thank you for sharing in terms of that.
No worries, mate.
But for me, the contrast between your personality is addictive, like you said before, but your sort of activity, you're constantly active, and then going fishing. What is it with regards to fishing and the passion that you think captivates you? Because it is very different to like... I talk to you, you're like a million miles an hour all the time, and then you are busy on the bank, but by nature, it's not always a busy thing, is it, on the bank? Sometimes you've got to sit and wait it out.
Oh, that's honestly, I've just had that drama. Sorry, got a little bit of something in my throat. I do apologise. Mate, it's all about the hunt, the chase, the thrill of the chase, We're the same in all aspects of life. People with addictive personalities, it's the thrill of the chase, and it's the same with, you can relate it to women, you know what I mean? If they were all just dead easy, you know, you probably wouldn't be interested. You know, I'm not speaking about myself here, I'm just speaking in general. You know, it's the thrill of the chase, isn't it? You know, there's the woman's usually a bit more laid off, and you know what I mean? And the guy's the one doing the chasing, and then next minute you text in, you're sending a couple of naughty pictures, so I don't know. And then all of a sudden, you know, it's that thrill of the chase that drives you and motivates you. And that, I'm not saying that I see carp as women. It was probably a bad analogy. Is that the right word to use? But you understand what I mean.
Yeah.
What drives me is the end result, obviously, but it's the hunt, the chase, and how intelligent these creatures have become and becoming more intelligent. Some of the stuff that I see, it absolutely blows my mind, and I want to do nothing but learn more, but also, you know, catch them as well. But the thing is I love, you know what I'm like. I'm active-minded. I'm looking all the time. I'm listening all the time. I'm looking in all the time in the tree. My addiction is finding them and creating an opportunity. I find the catching, I'm not going to say easy, I'm air quoting here, but I find it quite easy. That's the easier part of the whole, you know, in my angling, that's the easiest part of the whole, you know, process, because we all, you know, we use the tackle now and the bait, and, you know, we've got that pretty sewn up, but it's the finding them, you know, being up in the night and that sort of stuff. It's like this week, I've been in a very similar controlled area this week, to use it as an example. Someone, you know, you would think it would be quite easy fishing. I did 2 nights in one swim, and then did last night in one swim, the swim next door. What I've had since I've been there since Sunday, it's now Wednesday, is it? Yeah. 3 nights, and I've had genuinely 7 hours sleep since I've been there, and 5 of them hours were last night. First night I had between an hour and 2 hours. Second night, when Tom Gibson was down, I stayed up all night, and then all day yesterday. And that's when I moved, did a bit of stalking. I wanted to get some sleep, but couldn't. And then last night I only had 5 hours because I knew I had this. Yeah. And it's me last night. It didn't even lead to anything, but I've got stuff banked here, you know, like they were there, they were here, you know. Them fish are awake in the night in a minute. So if them fish are awake, they're not doing hardly anything in the day, you know. And if my fishing is all based on location and trying to locate the fish to then fish for them, especially on a place like Dinton, there's so many in there. I'm trying to find the right ones. Yeah. And if they're showing in the night, the only way I'm going to if I find them where the right ones are is in the night, because of the sound of them, you know, as opposed to, you know, I'm trying to locate them bigger fish, and I've really got them pinned in an area at the minute. I haven't caught them, but they're definitely in a controlled area at the minute. I'm hearing them everywhere on the lake, but the bigger ones are definitely there. There's a definite sign, but I know I've got a long-winded way about how to tell you what drives me in fishing, but it's the drive, the intensity, people think fishing is just sat. I could turn it into being sat there on my hands, you know. I can sit on my hands, bait and wait and all that, but I'll still work hard in the swim. I'm not just going to get them out, go sleep, watch my iPad, watch you on a stupid podcast.
Just waiting for the first dig. It's taking a good, what's that? 18 minutes or
so. I've got them up here, mate. But that's what drives me, that intensity, trying to just work as hard as I can on the bank. And at the same time, what that does, almost, what's the way of putting it? Like, unconsciously?
Subconsciously?
Takes my mind off everything else in life without even knowing about it. You know, you just constantly working, because fishing will be your worst enemy if you go, you know, if you're trying to get away from life. Not that I'm trying to get away from life, but if you've got a lot on and, you know, you want to use fishing as your getaway, the worst thing you could probably do is go there, get the rods out, sit there. Yeah. Because that's going to be nightmare. If you're going to sit and think about something that maybe you're dwelling on, or to get away from work or stresses or the missus and kids or whatever, you know, then it's the worst place to be. But if you can keep your mind active, then you're going to be, you know, I don't think about nothing apart from them fish, where they are, I'm going to catch them. Yeah. When it's going in the album, where am I doing my pictures?
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, go on, mate.
Reeling it back. Oh, a little bit of fun. Reeling it back.
Oh.
You said there, you obviously, your dad took you, you went weekend, you started to sort of get the buzz for it. How did that develop from the times at which you were surrounded outside of fishing in quite a difficult environment, let's say, through to when you found sort of some balance within your life? Did you manage to sort of separate yourself instantly from all that? Was there any further sort of angst with regards to getting dragged back into that sort of lifestyle? What happened?
I would say that, yeah, I was always in and out of it for quite a bit, leading up to, you're 17, 18, into your teen, your late teens sort of thing. But fishing has always been there. It's always been my getaway, as I just explained it there. It's always been my getaway, whether I be going in wrong directions or just wanting to get away, or actually just want to go and do a bit of fishing just because, I was due, if you like, or I was craving the urge to go. And yeah, I've always drifted in and out, but it started to get a bit serious, I would say, probably, early 20s, sort of. Basically, my old man used to go fishing. He's a big fisherman. He got me into carp angling. He got us into carp fishing, if you like. He didn't know nothing about it. I remember he used to read books from the library and all that type of stuff. Probably never took them back. No, but I remember, he used to read books in the library and stuff like that, and to learn it, and he got right into it. And then he ended up that's where Linch Hill was born for us, really, Oxford. He used to go with a few of his mates who were big into the fishing, Paul Coxen, who had a muscle wasting disease. So he was a big inspiration of mine and my brothers when we were younger. He was an old boy. Well, he was to us then. He was probably only 20. But no, he basically had a muscle wasting disease where he couldn't use his legs. He was very limited in mobility. Some people listening might even know him or have seen him about because he's an incredible angler, and with his disability, he couldn't use his legs, so he used to drag himself around on the floor, on a skateboard, all sorts of stuff on the bank in the winter, the rain, anything. I remember my dad telling me a story about him on the manor. He was on like the high bank as it used to be when it was the gravel works and all that. And he set up at the top of the bank or something, and his rods are in the water. Obviously, it's a good sort of 15, 20 yards away. And my dad was setting his stuff up, and he said he thought, how was he going to get to his rod quick? He's probably going to lose a fish. And then all of a sudden, he's tipping these buckets of water. He's getting buckets of water and then dragging them up the hill on his hands and knees, dragging them up the hill, and throwing them down the bank. And then later on, his rod's gone. He's just come scooting out the bivvy off the floor, down the hill, grabbed his rod straight into the margin, up to his neck in water, playing the fish. Like,
that's
incredible
quality,
incredible. And he was a massive inspiration of ours because he was sort of next level. He had the rigs and he was field testing there. I remember at the time it was the Assassin 8. Remember when that come out? So we were all Active 8, Assassin 8, Maple 8, all that sort of era, I suppose, if you like to call it that. It's not too long ago. No, I don't think it's too long ago, but it probably is, isn't it?
Well, yeah, potentially. It's like 20 years, maybe more, 25
God.
years.
No, I don't know. I wouldn't like to guess. But yeah, I'd say that's when I was sort of, in my teens. But moving later on, that's where it sort of came from to venture down south. And then eventually I started going with one of my dad's mates, Danny, down to Linear. After fishing round our way for years, there's big fish round our way. There's very limited. A lot of people are into the fishing. There's nothing wrong with the Northwest. It's probably just too hard for me.
Yeah, well,
I didn't get a chance to fish like the Mears and stuff like that. Really, did a little bit on the Winsford waters and that, Top Flash and things. That's where my PB was from. And yeah, eventually end up going down to Oxford, down south, and started on Linear, as you do. A lot of people do. That was a big sort of goal to go there, and just looking at them fishing there, like that big plated was like, oh, look at that, because I think when you're a bit younger anyway, it's all about linears and fully scales. Although it still is now, I suppose, isn't it? I mean, look, I'm chasing big linears now. But yeah, started on there, mate, and that's where it all sort of begun. And that's where I would say, when you're sort of saying how it's led into the industry, I'm guessing being sponsored and that sort of stuff, it's sort of, that's where that became, when I started to step my game up really on them sort of wakes. That's when I sort of became recognised, if you like, air quoting again, fishing on them type of wakes. But wow, that was a big jump from fishing round my way, muddy farm ponds, can't see nothing, none of this crystal clear gin water and that. It was a big wake up call. My angling was totally off for what I And my approaches were all right, trying to be sneaky and stealthy, and because that was always my way around our way. Little bags, sneaky bits and bobs, nothing like filling it in and that. We only had about £3 to spend on bait after I bought me pot noodles and porridge. But yeah, that's it was a big wake up call, but I adapted, and that's and that's something that I always would do and will do. Always learning, still am today, every day. In fishing, in everything in life. I think if you think you know everything, then you ain't gonna get nowhere, are you? So yeah, I adapted me fishing to suit. I.e., this is where all sort of 4-row weeders and pinning stuff down and matching stuff to the bottom of the lake and stuff like that came from. From the change over there, I started to see my end tackle in the water and thinking, I ain't got a cat and hell's chance. These are the most precious fish, pressured fish in the country. So yeah, I had to change quick, and I did.
Memorable captures, early linear captures. Anything stand out?
Big pointed.
Pop. I mean, that's a mega fish.
Yeah,
isn't it?
I had. What you on about from linear onwards, sort of thing. Them ones. So I'd say linear. Yeah, big pointed. The way I got them fish in the end, it was all about. I don't want to drag on too much because I'm sure you got plenty to cover. Or do you want me to just go with it?
No, go with it, mate.
So. The way that I got them fish in the end, which 100% was the reason I caught them sort of fish in linear, was fishing off the bait. It became apparent after watching a few of the big fish feeding the snags that they wouldn't go directly into the pile of bait that I was putting out. They'd take these little bits and bobs that had hit the branches, all these little single bits and bobs, and straight away, that's how I am. I see something and I need to convert to suit what's going on in front of me, and I saw that and I thought, I need to fish singles off the bait. And it was spod days then, so it wasn't spom, so you could control the spods a lot better than a spom. Flight's great. If it was going off the mark, I would always just stop it and draw it, and you keep your bait then as well, don't you? The spom will open, unless you're good like Maker, where you can make it not open. He's a wizard. But everyone had to go bang, bang, bang on the perfect mark, and then I would literally, that's the bait wise, and then I'd throw the rigs literally 6, 8, 10 feet off it, single bait, single nuts, single whatever, and that's how I started picking up the better fish in there. It was actually within a couple of weeks of seeing the big pointed feed off a baited spot. I'd see all these, the Simmos, the Stockies and all that, just all competitive feeding in there. These bigger ones were sitting off, and to see something and then adapt, that's what you've got to do, haven't you?
That's a buzz, though, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, it was mega. And I did I had that one, I had a few out of there, and then I went over to Manor, did exactly the same thing. And I had some of the big ones out of there straight away. Spike, that Blind's Eye, Hardwick Linear, them fish. I didn't do loads of time over the Manor, but it was apparent that fishing off the bait was the one. Throwing singles off the sides was definitely I'm not saying I wasn't catching other fish still, I was, but the bigger ones rolled in quicker than, because I'd fished 3 on a spot, 2 on a spot, or for a while on there, and I was just catching all the stockies, and one thing changed, and so did the catchers. So and then from there I went over onto Linch, mate, and that's where it all started to, it's actually where I sort of got into actually the fishing sort of industry, if you like, with sponsors, and that was linear into Linch Hill conversion, sort of that time. First one was meeting Dan Warbour, airbed. I had an airbed on the point and on St John's, mate. Airbed on the floor with me missus, turned up in a Mini Cooper or something like that, Corsa or something.
Proper northern.
Mate, I didn't care, and I still don't to this day. If you see me fishing and my tackle and all that, I don't care about anything out here. I don't care about this, anything. All I care about is the last 6 foot and where I'm putting it, So, but yeah, I've got an airbed, all that. I'm sure it was either Dan or Jake. They were both there. I think it was Dan. Dan was in the middle point. I was in end point, having a few. He's had a few. And then Jake was over on the Manor. And we got to know each other there. Chatting with Miles and that as well. Obviously, he's from round my way. He was fishing over at Linch. And I remember it was that session, actually, that I went over to Linch for my first time. I had a look round. Miles was over there. We were chatting. And then I see the owner, Davey, riding around on his bike like a madman trying to find me, because I'd come in without him knowing. He's like, what are you doing here? Like, in his Scottish voice. So I was just looking around trying to get a ticket. He's like, and he sorted me a ticket out straight away. There and then, pretty much, yeah. Because he was struggling back then, with the numbers and that. Linch was almost forgotten about. It'd gone through that heyday and then dripped off, and they were struggling. Say struggling, it was just all the lads on the syndicate keeping it quiet, really, not publicising that they needed people. And then that's when it was all started over Linch, mate, and here I am today, and that's it.
At this point, you've fast forwarded it an awful lot, mate. But at this point, you've fished on linear, you've gone over to Linch, and you're starting to sort of make your connections to get yourself up to where you're headed ultimately today. But job-wise, profession-wise, where are you with this? Because you're not in the industry as you are now, obviously. So what's going on in terms of that?
I've always worked my whole life, even from when I was like 13, 14. I used to be the lad. I used to sell Pringle socks and caps and trainers and that in school, you know, selling fags for 50p. Probably be about 10 an hour each, Charlie. 50p fags and all that. So I always had, my dad was he was a salesman. He had that gift of the gab, if you like. You know, I used to do the markets and car boots with him. He used to repair mobile phones and all sorts of bits and bobs. And I was a kid, man, and I'd be there like, rise and shine, it's bagging time, you know, shouting and that. Honestly, have a root and fill your boot. Is
that you?
Yeah. I remember once I shouted £2 each or 2 for £6, and they were like, that's not a discount. I just shout anything, mate.
Oh, mate.
But I did all that, and then eventually ended up. I started. What was I doing? I got my own tip site, so I used to work on the tip. You know, where you throw your waste away. Yep. Obviously, one man's rubbish is another man's riches. It's probably still my favourite job that I've ever had and ever done, and I'd do it today, rooting through everyone's rubbish. And I know that sounds really bad, but not through the actual rubbish, but you know, when people are cleaning out the garages and the sheds, there's loads of good renewable stuff, you know, that people can use. People throwing it away, it's an absolute waste. So. I used to work for a lad, for a mate of mine's dad on there. You know, we'd do car booting again. So we'd jump in the bins, basically, rip bags open, collecting up. Mate, the stuff that people throw away is insane. Like, you know, goals, just because the chain's broken, you know, all sorts. I've seen some right dodgy stuff. Women throwing bags of stuff into dodgy corners of the tip, trying to hide away what toys they're trying to throw away. What about child's toys, of course.
Wow.
But all sorts of stuff, mate. And I was doing that, and then eventually, when I got to about 16, bear in mind, I was working through school, you know, I weren't going all the time. I was in and out of school, and then mainly car boot days I'd have off, I'd just bunk it off and that. Used to bunk off, go fishing as well, I didn't mention that, did I? But I got many a picture with me in my uniform on the park wake and that. I have to get some of them over to you, mate, so you can have a look. I did a lot of, I got my own tip site eventually between 16 and 17. Me and a mate of mine whose dad it was, he gave us our own site in Alsager. Mate, the money we used to make on there, you know, I was obviously driving, didn't have no license, you know, I got banned from driving a lot of times when I was younger for having no license.
So you must have been pretty known to like the local police.
Oh yeah, big time, yeah. Again, look, it's not something that I'm proud of. I'm not sitting here giving it the big, and I'm just saying it as it is because it's how my life went, and it's, you know, and it's made me who I am today, which I'm quite happy with, you know.
Yeah,
it's what it is. But I used to be driving 7.5 ton wagons, looting vans, and everything. 17 years old, dangerous as anything, but I was a good driver.
Yeah.
Did all that, and then eventually I got a job on the railway. Network Rail sort of got. It was a big change for me because I was smoking a bit of this and that, and then all that was, you know, you can't do any of that on the railway, so I had to really, I think that helped me change my life around. Yeah. Just having a drive and a mindset to just sort of get away from that type of life. And got on the railway, you know, I was there, you know, from 18 all the way through all my fishing. I've done up to this date, really. Pretty much. We'll come to that in a bit, what I'm up to now, I'm sure. But, my railway from 18 right the way up till 31, 32, which I am now. And it was great for fishing. The money was mega. You know, the money was dead good. We had so much time off. That was the thing. It was brilliant. Like, I'd work Thursday, Friday, Saturday night, and I'd have Sunday to Thursday morning off. It was ideal for fishing. It was spot on shifts, you know, week on, week off. Yeah. All that, so I could go and basically bank tramp it out. whenever I wanted.
I remember that, like,
You get sick pay.
Bad back. Are you 40 foot up a tree? I remember first meeting you and being like, obviously seeing you on social media and everything, and then not really knowing that sort of side at all, and being quite like very surprised at like you've actually got like a really decent high level job at the time, because I met you relatively recently on the railway that sort of we no one really knew about.
Yeah, and a lot of people say that. The thing is with fishing, as I'm sure you're probably going to learn through this podcast, and I've no doubt heard already some bits and bobs. I keep my personal life, let's call it my personal life. I keep that out of social media and that. You know, I'm pretty sure if I didn't have my fishing and things that I like to do, I really love my food and all that. If I didn't have that, I probably wouldn't do social media, because I like to keep what I'm doing, my thing. Social media can be really cruel. I've seen that side of it. It's nothing to do with fishing or anything like that. I've just seen how much, if you were actually living your own personal life with kids and, trying to do something really nice, how people can just shoot you down. I just think, why, you don't need to showcase it to other people, if they're just going to shoot you down, if that makes sense. Like, so I've always sort of kept what I do outside of fishing sort of my thing, unless we do something like this, I suppose, you're sort of dragging it out of me, aren't you?
Well,
what have you given me in that drink?
I don't know, just Coca-Cola.
I'm actually going to have a swig of that. Go on, talk.
Yeah, you do. So going back to Linch, so you were on Linch. You got your job at the railways. It's pretty well established. Talk to me about the complex at the time, and how you went about. Because obviously there's a number of different lakes, a number of different prospects. How you sort of found your feet on there? Because it's notorious even back then as not the easiest of waters.
Yeah, really hard. But I sort of I'd adapted my angling quite quickly over at Linear, and noticed considerable changes in my catch rates and things. So I felt like I was going in the right direction, but this was another step up. It's totally different in its own right, I suppose, because I was fishing over at Linear, multiple fish with very limited big ones, and then I've gone to a very low stock, if you like, very clever, cute fish, so pressured. You're talking right back late 80s and into the 90s of absolute 7 days a week, 365 a year pressure. These are very clever carp, and some big uns, some are very big uns. But I felt like it was going in the right direction, really, mate. Me angling wise, but I struggled in a sense of again my own life. So I wouldn't say dragging me down, but I was banned from driving at the time, and I couldn't get down there on my own. So it was always calling on people. Everyone always helped me out. Miles was one of the biggest guys that helped me out to get down there. He was down every week anyway. I make him sound like a saint, but it was only because his fuel bill was cheaper.
Yeah, exactly. He's half his bill.
Yeah.
Proper
No, mate. We're still mates to this day. We speak most days. Sometimes, but he's one of them mates where you can go without speaking for a little bit, and then all of a sudden, we're still there. He's a top lad, and we've always got on real well. And ever since then, that's a good thing about fishing, isn't it?
Yeah.
It brings people together that you wouldn't really have ever met. I suppose that's everything in life, isn't it? But I've got some really good mates that are my fishing mates now. That I've met through fishing. But anyway, back to the story. Miles helped me out. My brother driving down when he started to get back into that, when he got onto Linch eventually. Mates. I've had my mum drive me down, misses, all that sort of stuff, would drive me down, back of a Mini Cooper. I remember going down, there's definitely a picture, I'll get this over to you, there's a picture of me in the back of this little Astra van, like a low one, and there's two lads in the front, and I'm in the back with all the tackle like that. I'm talking 3-hour journey, yeah?
Lads.
I had to get there, mate, right, and that was it. But yeah, I did quite well on there from the start, and I think that's really where, it started to get maybe a little bit noticed. And that's worth mentioning, when I met Dan and Jake, and that's where everything started, and getting to know Miles, a lot better and all that. That's where it all formulated from, becoming into the, the sponsorship side of things. But it was never, never forced. I never sort of saw him and thought, we just got chatting, we're fishing, and then all of a sudden it was like, oh, he's giving me a lift down there, and the next minute it's like, oh, you're doing quite well, might be able to have a word with so-and-so, see if you can get this. It's like, ideal, I'll take some half-price hooks or whatever, you know what I mean? Or take some cheap bait from CC Moore at the time it was. And that's where that started to come in. I just thought I'd throw that bit in there, and that's how. Because I know a lot of lads like to get into it, they aspire to do it. I have a lot of people message me asking, oh, how'd you do this and how'd you do that? And I just say, go fishing, enjoy it, fish the way that you want to fish, not just copying what you think everyone else has been noticed for, if you like. Just be yourself. Good photography, and it'll come along. You'll get seen, especially nowadays on social media. There's a lot more people doing it, but it's so easier. It's a lot easier to get noticed as well, isn't it? So
I think you're now looking at potentially, like in the next few years, people being actual angling influencers and just fishing for a living. Do you know what I mean?
100%, yeah. Well, the money's there. It's a great industry. It's a big industry. Well, I say big. It's a very small niche industry, but there's a lot of people that do it. It's a big audience, if you like. So where there's a big audience, there's big money. It's as simple as say big money. It's not like bloody Ronaldo this week.
Yeah, no, not quite there, mate.
Yeah, we're not there. Yeah,
he might fancy a bit of carping.
No, you do look a bit like Ronaldo. Now I'm looking at you. Although it's this big plant that's in my way that's cutting you in half.
That's off my hair, that is, mate.
Is this real?
Yeah, of course it is.
Looks fake.
That looks fake. There's
fake,
a leaf there on the floor that you just ripped a leaf off.
Oh, sorry.
Defacing the studio.
Yeah.
The vandal's coming out in it.
But yeah, fishing wise on Linch, I just gelled with it. I loved it. It was honestly, they are my best years. Linch in general, from Christchurch to Stoneacres, that place was just like my second home. Still is now. I still go and fish any of them lakes, no problem. I'm not one of them. I am on all the other lakes I fish, but with that place, I will always go back there no matter what. You know? I love the place. It's not about, oh, Adam Hall, red card, you're done and all that. I go there for other reasons than that, just because I love the people there and the fish and everything about it.
There's some incredible fishing there, mate, and they're just beautiful.
Yeah, I just love the way that it's you're almost received, I suppose. with the lads, with the owners, Nick and Julie, Davey. We got on from, well, I won't say from the start. I actually nearly got banned. Well, I did get banned once.
What'd you get banned for?
Basically, Stoneacres, it was when it all started to change. So basically, they were turning Christchurch and Willow into Etiquette, and Stoneacres was staying as a syndicate, but a 35 man, or 50 man maybe, and we didn't think we'd be able to fill it, and well, it's actually Miles suggested introducing the dropping of rigs, being able to drop rigs. That'd attract more people because it wasn't all about long range fishing then, and because it was really, that's the way it was perceived to everyone.
On Stoneacres?
Yeah, although I proved that wrong.
We'll come to that. Yeah.
No, but yeah, it was, that range game was next level. If you had that in your armoury, as well as all your other aspects of angling, in the edge, on the top, you could really rack them up. But yeah, that's what happened. It was changing, and then basically what happened is, and I'll just say it as it is really, CC Moore were getting mine and Miles' ticket at the time, I think, or paying. I think they were maybe paying half towards it or something like that, and something went wrong basically with the tickets, and basically due the year before this is, or there was a delay in payment or something like that. So we were on, maybe had a little mark next to us. Bear in mind, we sort of helped Julie out and all this, and to sort of say, oh, you want to do this, do that, and do that. And I got on really well with her. And then when the tickets came up, I was just like, I hadn't had me call for my ticket. She's like, oh, you didn't get one. I was like, what? I just lost my Linch ticket. Are you mad? Like, and I weren't happy, and Miles was fuming, and basically I ended up on Facebook, and I was like, no, she should. I was like, oh, I'm gonna miss you. So it ended up getting a bit. I didn't. We weren't getting nasty, but I was like, oh, I'm gonna miss you sunbathing in the garden and all this shit. And she ended up. She said, well, you're not gonna get on next year, like I said, you're banned. And I was like, oh shit, man, I was devastated. But as what would have it, the day tickets didn't kick off as quick as they were open, and we got chatting, and she said, do you want to come up and fish on Christy and Willow, publicise everything as much as you can. It's day ticket, and try and get it out there and make it busy. And basically I was like, I'll have some of that.
Yeah.
And basically, there was no one up there. Me and my brother got to go up there and just absolutely pound it. And as it happened, it was just as Sticky was really coming out of the box. Obviously, Sticky had been around for a long time, before Tom had it and that. But it's when it was really starting to intensify. And I'd say that it all happened, hand in hand at the same time. The Krill, Christchurch, mega looking Carp, Dan Wildball driving all sorts of miles at any time, staying over down Linch, and he basically lived down there, and everyone was catching. And I'd say that was, I'm not saying that that's what made sticky baits, but it was definitely a big piece of it coming into the limelight as such. It's a
perfect storm, isn't it? You got everything.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, we had the run of the mill, and it soon become quite busy over there, and then it was day ticket for a number of years. I'm not making it all about me. Oh, we did this and we did that. It just that's how it was.
Yeah. Talk to me about those two lakes then. So you got Christchurch and Willow.
Yep.
Talk to me about what you saw, what you observed, what approaches, because obviously you're pretty infamous for fishing, for finding them, being very active at finding them, for edge fishing over the course of time. Talk to me about those two lakes specifically. And what approaches work, significant captures, and how you sort of found your way through them, because you said you gelled pretty instantly.
Yeah, I learn a lot about fish in the edge. A lot of people will always see me looking for fish, watching fish, and people, even on my Instagram stories, it happens all the time. I've done it this week. I'll be putting some fish in the edge on a video on my story or what have you. And they're like, get rig, get fish. I love catching fish. If they were the right ones that was really after, I'd probably be devising a plan. But the main thing is to watch them, learn from them, learn their behaviours. For instance, and this is me giving a little bit away about Dinton right now, but these fish, right, so something that I learned about them fish is, and this is from the edge, so there's something that I learned in the edge to adapt out in the pond as well. They don't feed any differently out there. If anything, they feel less confident in the edge. They're on guard. So, these Dinton fish, I've baited so many spots in the edge, created them from scratch. They definitely eat the bait straight away off it. When there's, just say it's just a dirty, mucky bottom, leaves, grub, it could be whatever, weed there, silt there generally. They eat that, and then when you bait it again, they don't really eat it, but they'll eat off the edges. And basically, the naturally fed fish, Simon from Dinton, they just live in natural ponds, and they're natural feeders, and they eat in the shit, basically. That I've learned that, I'd see them eating so many times, and all the bait is left on the gravel. Eventually it will go. But generally they'll come in, they'll be ripping all the crappy bits up, eating all the bait off that, but not on the gravel. And since I've gone back in the last 4 weeks, that I remembered that from 2 years ago when I did my first bit on there. I only ever fished there in the spring once, and I've not fished it since, apart from the winter. And I remembered that, and I've been applying that exact thing right now, finding some hard spots or finding soft spots, shitty spots that people wouldn't generally fish. Everyone's after, get a thump, get an hard. Fishing these little holes in the weed, bit of crap, bit of bait over it. I've been getting bites, and that is one of the things that is definitely getting me bites. So, swinging it back to Christchurch, I was learning so much about their behaviours. That's what I'm saying, is that I spend a lot of time watching them as opposed to just fishing for them, because learning a bit of information might stand you. Yeah, you might be able to have a quick bite in the edge, but how many fish are you going to catch down the line based on the information you've just learned by watching them for a few hours, learning some bits and bobs, just like line lays become a massive thing to me. As soon as I started to see fish spooking off lines, I'm definitely, fish, I don't think the fish know what a hook is, what it looks like, because at the end of the day, they never see it. It goes in their mouth, unless maybe Ziggy, but when it's on the bottom, or even when it's popped up, they don't really see it. What I know they're scared of is straight lines, leads, and lead clips. Because you got to imagine, you fight for your life. What's the thing that you can see in that eye every time when you're fighting? It's the lead clip, the lead, and the straight line. That's what they associate with the pressure. Fish learn by association, of course, that. And that is what they are scared of. I've seen fish see hooks. I've had hooks, blatant as anything on spots, and they'll eat them. But you put that lead clip or a straight line or anything of them sorts onto a spot, they're gone. You know, I'm not saying you're not going to catch a fish. You will. Some fish are cleverer than others.
Yeah.
But you might not catch that rare one. And that's generally why, you know, all these things that I learn by fish's behaviours, you know, they are still the same animal. They might be in different lakes, but they're still the same, you know, they're still the same animal. And, you know, they share traits, you know, and so all the stuff that I learn on one lake or in one situation or in an hour of watching will always help me in later life, no matter where I go, you know. So, yeah, learning is my key. Watching and learning has dealt me all the best cards, and I honestly think that's why I sort of catch, again, air quote, and I don't like sort of sitting it. When you're talking about yourself, you think you're constantly blowing your own trumpet, don't you? But I feel like the things that I watch and learn lead into these captures of these rarer fish.
Yeah.
You know, the rarer ones, because, you know, I have caught a few rare fish that, you know, don't get caught as much as some of the others. You know, I might not catch all the fish, or, you know, and I might not have 20, 30 bites in a session, be that kind of angler, but I try and catch the rarer ones that not so many people have had their hands on, or, you know, just maybe need a little bit thinking outside the box, you know, to catch them. You know, it's definitely, you know, there's no coincidence that, you know, fish go uncaught for 3, 4, 5 years at a time, sometimes more. You know, that's because they're feeding or, you know, sussing certain things in different ways, you know, than the others, and that's the way it does it. And I'll bring you right back round to Christchurch and give you a fine example of it. A fish called Hartleys. I'd had quite a lot of the fish, you know, I jumped to a few fish, Christchurch wise, you know, over a few seasons. I'd had quite a few of the sort of A team that I wanted, you know, the Scar, the Slate Grey a couple of times, and there's definitely baby poolies a few times. You know, there was a lot that I had and a lot that I didn't have. But one of the ones, I love the mirrors, and I was getting the mirrors right. The ironing board was probably the only one that I really wanted that I didn't get. Hamster died while I was there, so don't count that one. Although I did come close to it a few times. But one that I really wanted was a fish called Hartleys. Wasn't the biggest fish in there, but wow, was it a nice fish. It's still about today, actually, so
is it?
I say it is a nice fish, not was. And the reason it's called Hartleys is after the jam. Hartleys jam, because you had to be jammy to catch it. That's basically, you know, real rare. Didn't come out, was always apparent it was in there, big double back, you'd see it, you know, I'd see it a number of times on the surface and in the edge. And I sort of started to devise a plan to try and catch this one. And I'd seen it on the surface. I tried it a number of times on the surface. It'd eat the floaters in the reeds, but it wouldn't come out. And, you know, I'd catch many a fish on the surface in there. But that one, you always knew because it had like its hump and it just come up and it'd just spin on the mixers. It weren't taking them. Watched it from the tree a number of times just doing it. And I just thought, waste of time even trying it. You know, he's not even having them. So the only other place that I really saw it was in an overhanging tree to the left of the lawn swim. No one had ever fished in there. Basically, there's a couple of swims down that bank now, but back then it went from the lawn all the way around to the point. Like, that's a big old distance of bank without a swim. There's actually 2 swims in that distance now. And basically, there was this tree that overhung. It's real deep. It's shallow in the edge, and then it drops off deep. And it was all full of snags and trees and crap and just line and everything. And I'd always see it in there, like there was a gravelly area that they just cleaned off all the time and you could feed them willy-nilly. And I started to focus on that swim for that fish. It was just in there a lot in a certain period. So I know it's a long story, but you'll get what I mean.
Oh, I like it.
All
Go on,
right?
keep going.
So basically, you used to wade out of the lawn swim. There's reed sea left. You chuck down to this bush and you could just kiss the trees, like, you know what I mean? Sometimes I'd even just drive, I'd put foams on, or I'd even cast bags like into, because you wanted to try and get in as close as you could. It was too deep to get down there on the front of these reeds. You couldn't go in and poke it in or anything. So, and then you'd fish a line around a pole that would be on the corner. So you're fishing like around the pole down the margin. And basically, I used to catch the fish that it was with, yeah, but I'd never catch it. Like, so I'd be watching them in the tree, be like, oh yeah, it's in there, get a bite. Catch the one that it was with, catch the one with, and it was no coincidence. Something was going on. I thought, is his mouth sewn up or what? You know what I mean? Like, but it'd eat everything. I'd be feeding it with so it's krill pellet at the time. I'd be feeding it with my pellets in there, and then they'd go out. You know, why aren't I catching it? I'm using the same bait, everything. And I just thought, it's got to just be riggy. And one day I just had enough. I just thought, you know, fuck it. I'm getting in there and I'm cleaning this out and I'm going to fish in here. So basically, I don't want that to sound savage, but now you'd know there's no way in earth you could fish in there, but it just used to be like an overhanging tree, but it was just crap and twigs and broken trees, broken branches and that. So I just got in one day, ragged it out. There was line and everything, ragged everything out to make it in a safe enough to fish where I was going to fish one rod, on this spot where I'd have it feeding, and I could just have the clutch slack. And the plan was, if it went, it's going to burst out the tree, cut slack, because you don't want them to kite round and go into any of the other trees or whatever. It burst out into the open water, and the plan was that I'd follow it out under the trees, swim under the trees, even though people don't know this, I can't fucking swim.
You can't swim? I swear I've seen you pretty deep in the water, mate, as well.
Mate, I've come out of boats and everything, mate. I can swim. I can swim to save my life, but I don't like water. I had bad experiences when I was a kid. A couple of times, rivers a weeping willow broke on me and all of my mates overhanging a river. Nearly drowned in there. A place called the Nine Arches. Yeah. There's only a weeping willow a bit further down that I managed to grab hold of. Yeah. Mate, the currents were just like. Eventually, I just grabbed onto this weeping willow and I was just skimming over the water. You know what I mean? Like, and my mate actually got the tree that had broke and pushed it out, and it come down. I jumped on it and I got on it. Otherwise, I was brown bread, mate. And another one where we decided to get a dinghy down this little brook thing, type thing, and all of a sudden we started getting dragged towards it, and this dinghy, 3 of us drunk, like kids, we're getting dragged towards it, and this guy come running on the bridge. He went, "Don't go down there." We're like, "Why? What's going on?" And he went, "There's a turbine, some sort of turbine down this tunnel." And basically had this, it did have a meshing on it, but it was all broke, you know what I mean? So we'd have gone through. And everyone was like, "Bail out." And mate, I was trying to swim away from it. It was dragging me down, but eventually I managed to get towards these reeds and hanging on these reeds and all breaking. And basically, I never liked water ever since, mate. Although I'm a fisherman and climb over.
I've seen you in the water, mate. That's like, I didn't know you can swim.
Yeah, I just, I can't, like I say, I can swim. You put me in a 6-foot pool here now, I'll swim back into all day long. Can't do that one, the froggy one.
Breaststroke, front crawl.
I can do that one, the doggy.
Doggy.
Love a bit of doggy.
Classic.
Keep it clean. But yeah, so anyway, that was the plan. Let's go. Hey up, mate. Your phone's vibrating off.
You're all right, mate.
Surprise mine. Oh, mine's on silent, isn't it?
Yeah.
So basically, back to the story. So that was the plan. Follow the fish out, dive down, swim down the reed fronts, because obviously I said it was too deep, to where the net was waiting. That was the plan. So I've got the rig ready for solid bag, with these pellets. I thought, rather than putting a rig in there, it's quite blatant. I'm very much a solid bag in the edge angler. Love it. Little parcel of food. Everything's so visual in the edge. No, I'm going off on a tangent here, but edge fishing is an art in itself. And I'm not saying I'm the master of it, but I do know I've learned a lot from it. Basically by trial and error. Got it wrong so many times, you're bound to get it right eventually, but still get it wrong these days. But yeah, solid bags are amazing in the edge. One little mouthful, no bait around it, just a bag somewhere that you've had them going. You put a rig and a lead and all that carry on in the edge. It's very, very hard to get a bite. Not quickly anyway. If you're gonna have to try and disguise it or disguise it with bait around it. It could be feed. There's just so much that can go on. So solid bag is always the way in the edge. That is a dead cert.
Your go-to,
100%. Yeah. Especially if it's a clean spot. You try, if they're hitting this gravelly area or whatever, that's what I always say. If it's a clean area and they're happily hitting it, then it's getting a bag on it. If it's dirty, silty, crappy, or something like that, it's getting a noodle on it. Something that I can stash the lead and the lead clip away, and just put into the weed or the crap or bury it. Like I use 10-ounce gripper leads in the edge, and shred them in. So they probably weigh about 30 ounce when you feel it.
Yeah.
Just because I've seen them drag rigs around, move them, ditch them, shake them out with light leads and that. So it's all big now, big, heavy, strong gear. Anyway, back to the story. Artleys, that was the plan. So I got the solid bag, wound it right to me tip. Yeah, so I've made this bag, 3-inch support link. I used, what did I have? I had a krill pellet, I had a bit of krill powder in the bottom, krill pellet, just the micro stuff. Not the micro stuff, the a bit bigger than the micro. I don't like the micro in a bag because they move too easy.
Yeah.
Fish come over them. Yeah.
Gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I can't say about that. No, I was going to mention something about my brother's fishing there, where he had a certain experience with a certain fish that he might or might not be fishing for. And
Right,
that,
don't
that thing
incriminate
happened.
your brother, mate.
Yeah, no, well, that's it. It's his story to tell. That's all. It's nothing wrong with it. It's just his story to tell. But yeah, so basically the micro pellet moves off a bag very easily. Feeding fish, just brush it off. So I use the bigger stuff. So it takes longer to break down. It covers that lead, and because last thing you want is all that bait getting spread around, and you've got a not so good mechanical rig sat there, supple. So anyway, yeah, put this little bag together. What? No more than fag packet size. Just for the people that aren't seeing my hand here, standard size bag.
Yeah.
I've wound it to my tip, walked it in, dropped it exactly where I've had them feeding. Obviously the fish have gone. Yeah, put it in. I've let the water clear. By the way, this is. Put the bag in, dug my tip in the ground, dragging it. Everything pinned down, full carbon leader, big putties. They can't see nothing. All that's there is this little sexy parcel. Yeah.
Sexy parcel.
Honestly. And I've got the rod set up, like I say, slack quartz, single arm, bang. It's game on.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, this is it. No one's done this before. No one's even fished in this tree before.
Yeah, I've cleared it out. It's there.
This is me. And literally within an hour or so, they were back in, mate. Inquisitive creatures, all this shit's gone on, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And it was Hartley's on its own came back. So they come through. I remember they ghosted through, and Hartley's was there at the back of 3 of them. I was like, oh, yeah, they're interested. And then they did it again. And then Hartley's came in on its own. And I'm behind this tree, and I'm like, oh my fucking, and it's coming down to it. And literally, as it got above the bag, I'd say about 6-8 inches away from this bag, up in the water, above it, it was going to go down, and it twitched. Oh. And I thought, how the fuck does it know that is? Because generally, I've fed it so many times in there,
yeah,
it would have just gone and had it. And I thought, what the fuck? How did it know? I thought, is it the shape of the parcel? Or is it the PVA sediment? All these things are running in my head, and then before I could even think about it, it swung back round and come over the top of it. And God was my witness. He was the only guy there. Yeah, I swear to God, this fish was 6-8 inches up off the bottom, and it just started sucking like this. And it's wafting its pecs, and it's sucking. And all of a sudden, all this pellet just started to go up the powder, and it all just went up into its gob, mate. And my upbait didn't even move a muscle. And it just swam off. And I was like, what?
Mugged off.
That was probably one of the, I've gone on to sort of see it again. I'll finish the story anyway and get a bit more in depth with it. So basically, I was fuming, mate. I had a bit more of a temper. I'm quite laid back, reserved these days, but back then I had a bit more of a temper, mate. I was fuming. I dragged that rod out. I didn't even pick the lead up. I just walked out and dragged it all, and I thought, eventually got my head together and thought, right, what went wrong there, and I thought, right, 2 things. The bait wasn't light enough and the rig wasn't long enough. I thought, if that's how it's feeding, straight away I'm thinking, this is why I'm not catching it. If this is what it's doing to me bags on the edge of that tree, that's what's been going on. They've been mugging me off. Yeah. So obviously what was happening is it could just suck everything up off the bottom from 6 inches, 8 inches up. What the hell? So basically what I've done is I devised a plan, same plan, different end tackle. I put a 10-inch bait. I've got a bigger bag, 10-inch braided up wing, wound it in there, put a tiger on, balanced it, dried it off obviously. Balanced it to the, mate, I remember dropping that rig in the edge at the lawn there, and it was just like this, mate. And I just thought, as soon as it opens its mouth, I want that going, like that. And I wound it in there, drop off in line, obviously. Bang, bang, bit of a bigger bag this time, bit savage really. I thought, it's a couple of mouthfuls that is. I like the one mouthful thing, but I thought, got to do it to sort of get rid of that hook wink a bit and that,
It's a lot of hook length, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. So I put it in, mate, and would you believe it, mate? Within 5 minutes, the next fish in, Hartley's again. The fucker tried to come in, did the same thing again, swung around, over the top, bump, and my tiger knot was the first thing in its mouth, mate. It went whack. I even remember seeing the lead go whoosh, like that, and it stormed off under these trees. I can picture it right now, and I followed it, swam down the margin, that's how I caught it.
Jeez.
So, a lot was learnt from that day. I remember, I'd learnt so much in my angling anyway, but that was a big thing that, I'd seen certain behaviours and characteristics of certain fish, but that one really sort of this isn't even a word, but individualized itself.
But that's a real key point for you in terms of that individual chase. It's not just a general chase, is it? That individual targeted chase, like you've just had there and observed, is the biggest part of the buzz for you, isn't it?
Yeah. And going forward from what I said about me going a bit more in detail, because I've seen it since. So I've seen the same behaviours again of fish sucking hard from above. That sounds really bad. So, but also I've seen it the other way around, where I've had bait in the edge, and people probably be able to relate to this, and also boat fishermen, people use boats and get to go out with the scopes and that, I'll definitely be able to relate to it, where I've seen fish feeding over the spot, and you've got crushed tiger and hemp and little bits of pellet and whole boilie and chop boilie, and I've seen them going over it, feeding it, and then when it all clears, you look and all that's left is the chops and the boilie and the whole nuts and that. And they were feeding hard to the ground. So what that tells you is that they can control that suction. They haven't always got to be going, they can pick, they can control it. And I believe that these more pressure carp have developed this over time of just going in and woofing it up. They've developed that they can actually suck lightly and get the little bits. You got to imagine these fish can suck up like little bloodworm and everything, you know what I mean? But they can also suck up big rocks. I've seen fish like the bus, for instance, suck up a piece of gravel as big as the palm of your hand, mate, a beast of a piece of gravel, they can suck hard. So anyway, so, and boat fishermen, again, the amount of times where I've had fish on me, it happened a few times on Stoneacres, I've had them on me, and I've gone out in the boat, and I've looked down, and all my bait that was there has gone, bar the bigger bits, But I've also had it where I've had 3 rods on a spot, and I've cleared me out, and I've gone out, and not even the rigs everything's gone, but the rigs are in the exact same place. Explain that. There's more to learn.
Of course.
And I see the thing is when you're boat fishing, you can drop rigs using a scope and that. You see the exact stone or bit of dirt that you want your hook to lie on, and that's where you get it. You don't stop till you get it. The more you do it, the better you get it there quicker, And I know exactly where them 3 hook baits were. And I've gone out and I've checked, and the hook baits are in. If they were in different places and that, you'd think, I've been done, I've been had, the lads have been dragged, I've done the lines and stuff like that. But no, they're in the same place, But they've had every grain on my bait,
That's even worse, isn't it?
Had mine, to come from Stoneacres into another, or boat fishing in general, to back to your normal fishing. I believe it's a big change that you have to go back. It's a big change to get into boat fishing.
Yeah.
It's a big change to go back. But unless you've learned a lot and thought about what you're learning using a boat to put into your casting sort of fishing on another lake, you'll struggle more than I did a lot of learning to move forward onto other lakes, which we'll get into in a minute when we talk about Stoneacres. But to finish on Christchurch, Artleys was a fucker.
But you know him, yeah, exactly.
I got him. I give him a solid mega fish, and I've got some nice pics of him as well. So get that over to you. Do you run pics over this?
Yeah, mate. Of course I will.
Oh,
all
cool.
Of them. Yeah.
This is Artleys.
Nice face. So from there, was it a case of you moving on to Stonies for a bigger challenge, different type of fishing, or did you sort of flip between the two?
Sorry, I just knocked the mic.
Okay.
I'd say progression. It was always. I always felt that that's the way it was going to go, but it was almost thought like that, I'd say. Some people just went over and just fished Stoneacres straight away, like your Miles, for instance. That his big attraction was Choco, and rightly so. He's a hunter, and that's what he went for. He's still going fish Christy now and then, but his main focus was Stoneacres. And I think the mindset I'm now in now, I probably, if I was to start that complex now, I probably would start with Stoneacres and use Christchurch as a secondary.
Why?
I don't know, just because Choco.
Right, okay.
Yeah, £50.
So not because of the style of angling, the size difference, the bigger prospects.
The target, I think if, to look back at now, all these things that we're talking about now has definitely developed me into more of a targeting specific fish angler. I was going through this change, and now I am definitely, there's always that target. I've got to have it, I call it me power, and not superpower. I mean, what powers me, what drives me to go all them miles, all them nights, all that fuel, all that money, all that time that you're given. The thing that powers me is that one fish, that one moment with that fish, or the thought of it happening, and and the thing is that doesn't mean just because you're not a big fish target angler that you can't have a power, because I've seen it in other people. And look at, say, for instance, Maker. His power is bites. He loves a bite, and that is his drive. He wants to catch fish. He wants to catch as many as he can, as quick as he can. I've seen him sit down playing fish in his bivvy, and just do it in his sleep, That's his power. And, it could be little scaly ones, little canal carp, little commons, big common, whatever your power could be, just to get away from missus and kids or something, that could be your drive, just drive as far away as possible.
But it's important, it's individual, but it is important, isn't it, that you need that drive, otherwise you just don't stick.
You've got to have a reason. If you're a guy who's, and this is, well, I'm not, knocking anyone's angling, but I'm sure everyone is probably related to what I've just said and thought, oh yeah, that's why I go. Or I go for this reason, not just, I'm just going to go and chuck some rods out today.
No,
you need a drive, in my opinion, everything that we're talking about is in my opinion, because it's me. So, yeah, I don't know where we were. We get lost in this.
Stonies, mate. We're on Stonies. We've gone across.
Yeah, so I've jumped. Yeah, so the progression. It felt like, some people would start cut the teeth, willow and church. I didn't do so much on willow.
No.
Just a bit of photo fishing, in the edge fishing when it got busy. On church, resting the swims. Used to do that a lot. Winding the rods in for the day, rest the swim while everyone else put pressure, and you'd find that the fish would generally frequent in your area. Frequent. That's a word
big one for you, mate.
Yeah. So, I progressed over on Stone Acres, and I knew a lot about the place, but never really done much on there. And the reason I knew a lot is because me and Miles were, we were, I'd say thick as thieves, but we travelled down hours and hours. Many a time I'd spend walking around with him when we got there, walk around Stonies with him, have a bit of a, because we travelled down in the night, it's worth mentioning. So we generally set off about 12 o'clock. Miles would pick me up generally from the pub with a carry out, go and get me tackle, and then we go down or something like that. So yeah, Miles did me great favours. It's always, I won't go into that, but yeah, basically, me and Miles spent a lot of time together travelling down, and yeah, I'd walk around with him sometimes. So it's fair to say I knew a lot about the lake.
Yeah.
But the way Miles fished it was about to be totally different to the way I fished it, So it's not like I absolutely dug his mind out and, knew everything about it. I went on there and fished my way, and it worked. It really did from the off. I noticed I started climbing a lot of trees, and noticing these fish in the edge a hell of a lot. Generally, during the day, because what had happened is they were long range fishing in there. It was all 180, 200 yards, that sort of stuff. I got no chance, mate. I had little ESP terrier and tracer whip rods, something, you know what I mean? They couldn't even cast a float out, like. So, although to be fair, it was definitely my technique, because I remember once I was trying to blast them, and I said to Miles, you see if it's just that rod or what, and he just went
whack, yeah,
and it just didn't stop. I was like, all right, yeah, it's definitely me. It's not the rod. But anyway, yeah, it was my type of fishing is in the edge, and yeah, it was a range lake. The fish definitely liked it out at range. During the day, see, it's worth mentioning as well, back then, when I first got on there, and obviously all the years previous, it wasn't dropping rigs. Yeah. It was casting only. You could use the boat, drop blocks, you could bait up from the boat, and you could view your rigs from the boat, but once they were cast. And that rig, people might be thinking, I'm sure a bit of dropping rigs went on now and then, but trust me, it was a strict rule, and everyone stuck to it, because it meant that, if the lads stuck to it, it meant they kept the sort of people that couldn't cast off. You know what I mean? Like, does that make sense?
Yeah.
You had to be a big chucker. There was no, come on, you can drop rigs and that, because otherwise it would have been a lot busier. It was a real, I wouldn't say dog eat dog, but it was, there's a lot of big chuckers on there. You like some Miles and Sean Gately, loads of big. I can't really reel them all off. Brett was a big range angler. Even Kneebone had a little go. Yeah. He's only
He can chuck
taller
though.
than you. He can chuck a bloody
He's a
head, mate.
unit.
So yeah, there was a lot of high caliber of angler, big range anglers. But I'm not saying it's all about range, but that's what they used to basically keep everyone off. And
Yeah.
it did, right? Rightly so. Fair play to them. So yeah, you couldn't drop rigs. So it's fair to say there was a lot of boating and a lot of chucking. I'd see Miles. He would spend all day some days if it were conditions weren't right for where he was or something like that, and it was going to be a struggle to get the rigs out. You know, he would spend all day trying to land these rigs on a sixpence, go out, check it, no, not right, come back, not right, and then bait 4 rods, and then to have a weed bed come through, take you out. You know, I dread to think what sort of condition his back's going to be in when he's older, because I have seen him do some casting. And when all that was going on, go back to the story. When all that was going on, I would get up the trees and you'd see these fish, you know, come like buses down the centre of the lake or out of them range areas and settle into the edges. And that's when I sort of, you know, saw my time really to sort of see where they're getting in areas, but also ways and means to bait little areas and fish for them. And that's how I started on there. My first fish was a fish that's now called Scottish Common after that capture when I caught it, because it hadn't been out for I think it was about 5 or 6 years. There was rumours of this big common lurking about, you know, but every lake's got one of them, aren't they? Oh, there's a big common, it must be 60 pounds. Not many of them about. No. But yeah, there was a big story, and I'd seen this big common. I remember the words. I said to him, I said, mate, I've seen this big common. He's like, we had all the stores at this big common and all that. You know, he said, but then I said, yeah, but you know me, I'm not going to chat shit to you. You know, he's like, yeah, true, you do find them. He said, but you know what you got to do, don't you? Catch it. And then that shut everyone up. And I was like, all right, sweet, like that. So I remember one week I see it and it kept dropping on this spot in Calf Bay, dropping on this spot. And it was about this big natural spot. Turned out it was snail eggs. It was nailing. These snail eggs. And I remember the next week I got down, because I left it to it, got down and this spot had gone this big. Doubled in size, which I was only away for 3 days. We used to do Sunday to Thursday. And yeah, I was only away for 3 days and this spot had doubled, and I thought, right, I'm just going to get a rig straight on that spot. And I remember I got this rig out cast. It's only 7 wraps, 11 feet it was. Don't know why I remember. 7 wraps, 11 feet. And gone out in the boat, and I remember it took a lot of cast because it's a tiny spot.
Yeah.
You know, I was getting drops, bang, go out and it's in the shirt. You're thinking, I'd have left that if I weren't using a boat. But yeah, I remember it landed on the front of the spot. And I thought, that'll do. I put a few nuts next to it because I was trying to be quick because I knew there'd be dew coming in the day, sun coming out. But it was quite apparent that the fish had ripped off the back of the spot. But I thought, it's on the spot. A few nuts, bum. I remember I was with CC Moore at the time, we were using them white nuts, and they were mega. And he definitely loved the nut on there. And yeah, I remember watching up the tree. I sat there all day. I made there's a plank of wood still up my tree up there where I had my stove and everything, and I set up the tree and watch. And I had to stay up there because the coot, you know, oh man, he was a bastard. He was hardcore. Yeah, honestly, mate, he just kept diving. And so I had to stay up there, and then when he get out, I'd shake the tree and start him, and he'd go. That's the only way. If I got down on the bank, I could do whatever he wanted. You know, do the Macarena and it wouldn't go, you know. So, yeah, I just stay up the tree, and it kept coming back in, and it got to a point where it dropped that many times and ripping off the back, and my poor little rig was just sat there doing nothing, nadding. So I knew I had to change it. So I repositioned it, and I remember it took me a load of casts, but I just knew I had to do it, and I got it to the back of the spot. Eventually, I remember getting up the tree, and the first time it dropped down, it nailed it, and that's how I caught that fish. I see it shoot off the spot, flew down the tree, got to the rod, and I remember that was probably one of the nerviest bites. Luckily, I was on my own, so it was all a bit just you're in your mode. But I remember Stoneacres can be quite an intimidating place if you let it be. You know, I'm not saying I was intimidated, but the carp that are in there, the carp that I knew I was attached to, it needed to go in. You know, I'd spent a lot of effort, and you know, I remember where it got to a point, it was taking a lot of lime, coming through weeds, and it was a lot about. I just thought, you know, when you got that thing in your mind, well, this is just gonna pop off in a minute.
Yeah, any
please
moment
just go
now.
in, and it went in, and yeah, that was the first one I ever caught out of there, and it was a real rare fish. Yeah, it was about
What did it go?
just short £40. Yeah,
Not quite the £60.
No.
That was later.
It was rumoured to be a £40. That's what it was. Everyone was saying it's fun, but there was no big commons in there. That was the thing. Like the biggest that was a known common was the pinch belly common. It's a low to mid 30. The bigger one had died, and yeah, that one had obviously come through and not been known to come through, and yeah, I had it.
Go on, the boy. That's a
So,
start on there, isn't it?
yeah, and then my next fish was the bus. Another story in its own right, but I don't think we've got too much time. I mean, how long we've been going? Have we got time for stories?
Yeah,
Right, let me just tell you the bus story. It's a quick one. Basically, I'd seen it just slightly to the right of where I caught this fish, and I'd seen this bus. You knew that one. It was like a bus. Along with a bus. Yeah? It was
Good
as long
name,
as a
good
bus. Apparently, they were going to call it the poo fish.
The poo fish. Why are they going to call it the poo
Something like
fish?
that, because apparently I think a couple of lads caught it when they were having a poo.
Right.
But they give it the name the bus. So
Better than the poo fish,
bit
innit?
better, yeah. I'm sure it was something like that. Or this, I can't remember. But yeah, it's definitely something to do with that. But yeah, it was feeding on the top of the weed. It was definitely eating snails off the top of the weed or something. Tall, 4 or 5 foot of weed, perfect chod zone. Seen it in the day doing it. I put this chod out. I remember, flew down the tree, watched it venture off, flew down the tree. I had this swirly bait that Adam Smith used to make, pink and white it was. I just whipped this chod on. I put about 4 white foams all moulded to the 1 ounce head to the bottom. So I moulded them so I knew, so I could get up the tree and see where the rig was.
Yeah.
So I flew it down there like that. Boom, I thought that was about right. Whacked it down, got up the tree, and it was exactly where I wanted it. I see these foams go, and then I caught the up bait. So I was like, yeah, it's perfect. Sitting there pretty. And I watched the bus come in about an hour later, and it literally dropped down to it and went steamed off it. Didn't pick it up. I thought it was in, but it hadn't touched it. It saw it, clocked whatever it was, and I just thought, well, that's that opportunity missed.
Yeah.
But there was a couple of other fish that had come through the area as well. So I thought, I'll leave it. I was sat on that rod in the night. Actually, Dan Wildball ring me up.
It's overnight. You've had it. You've kept it out there, and you've sat.
So yeah, I
before.
left it. Yeah, just on a single rod, swim that no one ever fished really. It's called the pipe swim, halfway up the bank. Lads will know it, that know the place. But yeah, no one ever fished there, or I'd never seen someone fish there. Maybe every now and then. But yeah, Dan Wildball actually turned up. He'd been fishing with Johnny Mack in the middle of the night, about 1 a.m. Strange call, right, Dan? He'd been fishing with Johnny Mack over in Burghfield, and I don't know. I think he got a bit scared. He was in the murder swims. No, he didn't. But he basically said, we started in, I think, No Carp Bay, and then he moved, and then John had said, "Oh, they're called the murder swims," and he was like, "Why are they called the murder swims?" And he rung me. No, and yeah, basically he turns up, and we're sat there brewing, probably 12, 1, 2 in the morning or something. I can't remember the exact time, but it was pitch black. And yeah, my rod's gone, but it's just a little and I picked it up, and I was like, it's a tench, mate. I just wound it in like this. Literally, and he went, "Do you want the net?" I was like, "Nah, mate, I didn't put my waders on. I was just gonna drag it up the edge. It's full of tench." And all of a sudden, I got it, and there's a bit of weed on it. I was like, "Oh, fucking that!" And then all of a sudden, I just see this big snake-like tail hanging out the back of it, and it just went like that. And Dan went, "You want the net?" I was like, "Yeah, mate." And got it in, and yeah, it was the bus, mate. Yeah,
the bus that literally just did nothing
on a single, yeah, just on a single, and it just did nothing. Yeah, it was known for beasting, and I just managed to. It burst off. Dan chucked me in the net. I got it back because it had this. Basically, because I used to use fluorocarbon leaders, they sometimes come in handy. They can be a nightmare because I don't know why I'm doing this because this is me pulling off the weed off my leader. Basically, basically, what happens is your leader knot will always pick up a ball of weed. Sometimes it can gracefully, beautifully drop over the leader knot, slide down over all your putties, and just land straight on Mr. Fish's head. Yeah. I always thought it was a great idea in there somewhere where it was like a carrier bag comes down and just bags it. Just drag it in. No, just like a tea towel to cover it up or something up your line as well. But yeah, basically, sometimes it happens, and that's what happened in that situation. But sometimes, like I say, it can be a pain in the ass because you get some weed and you're trying to get that weed knot through your eye, and you've got to drop it down. And this is what I'm doing here. I don't know. Yeah. Hi.
Nice. Elegant. So that is a pretty epic start, those 2 fish. A signature video that I saw of you early days on Stonies was catching none other than Bite Mark and giving it a bit of a shout. Now, that's a pretty infamous fish on Stonies, but I think that was the first time I saw you angling in any video form. Might have been one earlier, but I think that's the first video I ever saw of you, mate. Talk me through that.
Yeah, I'd say he probably was the first proper sort. I mean, I'd done many a video. I mean, a few dodgy videos in the time. We won't get into that.
Too easy.
Easy. We're gonna rate 18 this one anyway.
Well, we've already ticked the box, mate. The first couple of minutes.
But it really started to, let's say, that was again another era, if you like, of film. Sticky, I would say, more than anything. I'm not going to say that they were the first people putting film out, not at all, but I'd say it was, it was Dan. Dan's always been the man, Sticky, wild boar talking here. Not Yeomans or anything. Not that I'm ripping Yeomans. So Dan was the man, he was the guy who travel them miles, do the pictures, get the shots, do the features, and he basically lived there. And he quite happily put on a lot of weight because he ate from the calf every day. I'm only joking.
Danny boy.
Danny Dan. I'm only joking. He probably won't got time to watch this, mate.
He's been on one, mate. He's done one. Have you not watched his?
No, of course I have. Yeah, I watched him.
You trying to get him back?
No, I didn't watch.
He didn't say anything bad about you, to be fair.
But anyway, Dan was a guy, and it was around that time that he was venturing into film. I remember, I'm pretty sure I did. Obviously he knows how to handle a camera. But I remember we had someone in, helping him and teaching him and that, and they were his early days of film as well, and that's where Sticky started to go and look at the films that they put out now. Well, not so much now. Dan's gone. I'm only joking. But look at the stuff that they put out now, and that was around the time. Sorry, back to the story, Scott.
Right, I like this. I like this.
I just
mate.
I'm being.
I like this on my toes.
Dan actually, Dan has a thing where when he's calling me erratic, or when I'm doing something erratic, he'll just do it back to me and he'll go.
I like the sort of web that you weave, mate, around stuff. It's good.
So basically, it was around the time of Dan really starting to explore with a camera, and it was definitely my first time doing a proper film, I think. And I really loved that film. It's like the bite mark film, but what you're on about is the raw footage that Nick got of me. I remember, so the story of bite mark, I suppose. I mean, I may as well tell you of that one. Do you want me to go into it?
Yeah, definitely.
Caught it, mate. That was it. And that was me done on Stoneacres.
I put a rig out and I caught it, and that was it.
No, so basically, I remember I turns up in the night, about 2 a.m, just me. I was riding solo now. Sorted my life out, Got my license and that.
Nice.
Driving license. Got myself a little van. Sorry, I was thinking about something else. I'm not going to go into it. But so basically, I've turned up in the night about 2 a.m, and I remember it was flat, calm night, crystal clear. Moon was out, and the moon was like straight in front of me where I was stood on a swim called Chow Mein. I used to. Although you can drive around Stoneacres, especially in the night anyway, obviously, you wouldn't drive around in the night, but I used to purposely park up anyway and walk around because it's quite easy to drive around, no, I'm not seeing nothing. In the comforts of your bloody van, you're not going to stop at your trees, you're not going to do this, you're not going to do that, so I like to check every nook and cranny, and even more so in the night, I wouldn't drive around because people are sleeping, so I parked up, walked down, and I heard fish, boom, 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 in front of this swim called Chow Mein. I could see where they were, the rings and the moon, like that. It had probably 10 shows. That was enough for me. And I'd never, ever seen him in that area. You know what? I'd never, ever fished in that swim. This is, 3 years into the campaign, I'd say. 3.5 years. I had a bit of time off due to some unforeseen circumstances. I had to spend a bit of time in Her Majesty's pleasure.
Did you?
We won't go into that, but it was nothing dodgy. Basically, just fighting and, basically ended up spending a little bit of time in the old prison, like.
How long did that take you away from your campaign?
Well, I did about I'd end up doing about 6-7 months in the end, and then a bit on tag.
Right.
But basically, I'll say it as it is anyway. Now I've said it, I suppose. Someone tried stabbing me outside of a pub. He actually did catch me a couple of times on my arms. I got scars on my arms. Basically for no real apparent reason apart from me telling him just to calm down because he was giving the landlady a load of grief, and he was slapping his missus and all sorts. And
jeez,
he basically we said, "Come on, mate, you're gonna have to leave." And he come back with a bat and a knife, and we ended up fighting. He was. I shouldn't have even gone to prison, mate. You know, I basically wrestled a knife wielding, back wielding guy. If I was wearing a police uniform, I'd have been a hero, basically. But yeah, basically, I ended up getting a knife off him in the back, and we had a fight. And it just because it was in public, and probably the police just didn't like me anyway, and it got seen the wrong way. The lad went to prison as well. He got longer than I did. But yeah, so that
wrong place, wrong time.
Wrong place, wrong time, 100%. And yeah, you never see me go back there again. It's not big, it's not clever. But you know, at the end of the day, I was just protecting myself. But for whatever reason, they didn't see it that way. So yeah, took a bit of a time out, and yeah, basically, I came back all guns blazing. And that was the start of my best time on Stone Acres, really.
Anything change in that time?
Yeah. Become super keen, more focused, dedicated, reflecting on things that, you know, give me time to think. You know, this is a shake up. You know, although I probably felt a little bit hard done by, I thought, you know, you got to live with it, get on with it, is what it is. And yeah, basically, I came back keen as mustard, mate. And that was when I really started to stack them up, multiple hits and things. You know, on Stone Acres, I'd learned so much, and I just put it all in, everything I channeled into my angling, and yeah. Ultimately, yeah, all guns blazing, and yeah, I had to back to where I was in the story. Yeah, I turned up in the night, in the bushing, and I remember they were only 40 yards out. I'd never seen them in this zone before, and I just thought, don't know what's out there. Pretty sure there's a bit of weed, bit of silty areas, nothing too crazy. It was only early on, spring this. So I thought, just for safety, set a couple of choddies up, yeah, cut all my end tackle off. Choddies, I like to have mine generally about 6 foot up the line, fix them about two beads, 2 inches apart. You know, stinky up baits, brights, visuals. Yeah. Although it was in the dark, and basically, yeah, as light a lead as you can get away with as possible. You know, these were 40 yards, so I probably would have put an ½ ounce to an ounce on and just blast it as far as you can past them. And then just wind until you know that you're in the right area, especially if it's in the day. It's harder in the night. And then wind and just drop it in then. You know.
What the drops like?
Yeah, both nice. Basically, what I do, is I don't drop and feel. So what I'll do with a choddy is I'll cast anyone that can see me. So like hand action.
Good casting hand
so
action.
I'll cast. And then
it's very wristy, cast.
Very wristy. Hey, sailor. So basically, I'll cast, and then as it's when you're winding, I'll put my tip down to the right, or if you've landed it in the right spot, get my tip down as flat right. So basically, to lie the line as much as I can, and I'll hold. Because what I want to feel it do is go down and grips whatever it's over, i.e. it could be flat ground, but if it's over weed, I need it to grip. And hold, and then what I'll do is I'll slowly take the tension off, and if it starts to fall through, I need to gauge how far it's fell through from where my tip is. If it falls any less than 6 foot, I know my up bait's still up and above the weeds. Okay. Yeah, I'm all right. But if it falls through 8, 10, 12, I know it's down. But generally, if you do that and hold, you've wedged it up, and you just slowly let off, it won't fall through the weeds. You know, you've laid that line out. So yeah, that's what I did. Couple of them. Just softish drops into crap, and I had a bite that early. No, I remember. Oh God, I pulled my back. My back's been in bits for years, as you know. I've had all sorts of mad issues with my back. Won't go into that. Play the violin too much. I think I've done that throughout this whole thing.
No, you haven't.
But yeah, I'd done my back in. I remember jumping up. Must have dozed off for probably an hour or something. It's about 4 a.m. And I remember jumping up. I just had my bed chair out, nothing else. And I jumped up and I jerked me back, and I had to crawl to the rods. And it's like, took the wind at me. You know, I can feel it now. And eventually I managed to I was just sat in the edge playing it. And eventually it got into the shower of water, and I just netted it from sitting down. I had to actually I went in on my knees. And it was so painful. I got it in, and that was a fish called Mini Choco. About £38, something like that. 36, £38.
Result?
Yeah, mega way to start. Within a couple of hours, choddies in the night. How's that? 50 acres, 60 fish, I reckon.
Yeah.
Not bigging myself up or anything. No, yeah, so that's how it started, and then I tried it again for the second night because they were there short in the day. You know, I could tell there were certain bits and bobs going on. They were still there, but when I got up the next morning, it was apparent that they'd moved out into the open water, but still in front of me. And they were all over the place, scattered out there, spring behaviour,
Yeah.
just happy, freshy, cleaning off shows. But there was some shows that were just consistent on the same spot. And I thought, that's where I need to be. Remember the trees, conifer to right hand side of Big Point. There's two of them. It's the left hand of the two. I remember just thinking, I'm just going to have to go for it. Got my boat out, drove straight at them. I thought, I need to know exactly where these are, because it was like 4 or 5 shows consistent on this spot. Drove out, had the scope down. It was misty, started getting a bit misty. You know, like the water, it was Jim Quinn and all some bits and bobs floating around. You know you're coming towards it. And I just see this black hole, like just black cloud, and then these shapes just go out of the way, blocked straight into it, bang, went off, found a couple of spots, and then, got back to this spot. They were just smashing it. Snail eggs again. Mega, if you can find them in the spring. Got a couple of rigs out on that area, and I had his mate first, so I saw that bite mark. He had a couple of mates, which was the yellow leather and a fish called white tips. Never caught that white tips. Wish I had. It's clever, very clever fish. See them together a lot, and just before the bite, I see an absolute hippopotamus jump out. Honestly. And I was like, mate, that might have been it, because it was quite yellow-bellied, bite mark, when it jumped out. For some reason, it wasn't yellow. Oh, it's just because it was quite stretched in the belly. I think it looked quite a big pale fish from underneath. And the rod went, and it was the yellow leather. And I knew that weren't the one that I'd seen come out. And I still had this one rod on this spot.
So you had 2 on that spot?
I had 2 on that spot, and one off somewhere short to the left, I think.
What sort of rigs? You said it was pretty trashed. It was a hole. Yeah. You weren't on troddy still, were you?
No. Sorry. Skip that bit. Sort of telling the story, but not telling the details.
No.
But if you want the details, mate. Yeah, so I stripped it back, gone back to me. 4 weeders, putties up the line. On the with the boat in, I could get away with, because I'm dropping the rigs. You can get with the putties quite far up. 8-10 feet up if you want. Pin as much as you like down. Pin that line down, because them fish pick that line up on the peck, and always their nose. If they pick it up on the nose while they're feeding, they're gone, mate. Gone. The amount of times I've had that in the edge where I've not got my line lay right or something like that. Again, trial and error. Something worth noting to people. If they pick that line up on their nose, they're gone. 100%. That's why I focus more on the spot, the rig, the tackle, where I put it on the spot within the spot, the line lay to the spot. Although that might be the better part. The line will lay nice there. Let's have it there, or curve it round there. Got to be so out the box thinking. Basically, I'm going off on a tangent, don't I? I'd switch back noodles, 5 ounce flats I used to use then. Generally 8 ounce grippers or 5 ounce flats. It was pretty flat calm, so 5 ounce flats were enough. I wouldn't ever fish with a 5 ounce flat if I was casting. Generally, they're not great casters, but weighing them out, just gripping that ground a bit more. And I used to always just tuck the lead and the lead clip away in the shit, on the edge of the spot. It was all about the edge of the spot. I always say that, if it was all about the gravel, generally most gravel spots start as silt at the start of the year, unless it's a raised area. It'll stay quite gravelly, but your lake bed that's made up of gravel will always be silt in the spring, and then the fish will eventually, and the birds and what have you, will clear it off, and it'll become gravel. And there is a point where it's just a circle of gravel, as big as a fish's mouth, which starts that big, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And the reason it gets bigger is because if it was all about the gravel, it'd just stay that same little piece size of gravel, wouldn't it? It gets bigger.
Holes everywhere. Yeah.
It's what they're eating off the gravel. It's what's on the gravel. It's the silt that they're interested in. All my years of watching fish feed, and anyone else that has done it will probably be agreeing right now with us that's listening. They feed on the edge. They make the spots bigger. There's a reason to get bigger. It's because the edge of the spot is the spot within the spot generally. So when I'm fishing out in the pond, I fish the front edge or just generally the sides. I don't like to fish the back if I don't have to, unless it's a massive area and I need to get to that back edge. I don't like to, because I don't like to fish me lines.
Line lay, yeah.
Clear, so again, line lay. It's all about that spot within the spot. And I just used to lay the lead, and the lead clip would always go in the crap if it was there. If it was silt, you could just bury it nice, easy. If it was weed and that, you could tuck it in and just literally the rig end of the noodles. It was noodles all the way on there, mate, pretty much. Hinge now and then, but with choddies. But I suppose that's worth mentioning, because I'm telling a lot of fishing stories here. So end tackle wise, I've only got, and I'm pretty sure this is apparent with a lot of people, but I know through doing tuitions and things, it's not. So I've only got one rig for every situation, you know. So what I mean by that is I've got one pop-up rig, which is a hinge, one bottom bait rig, which is the noodle, because they're the only situations I'm going to come across on the bottom. I need it popped up or on the deck. If it's clean spot, it's going on the deck. If it's crappy, choddy, silty, not so 100% that it's definitely the hook can lie on the bottom, it's going on a pop-up. That's the only reason I use them two different methods. If I was fishing a clean lake, I would never had a pop-up out.
No, just noodles all the time.
Yeah, the reason I get a pop-up on is because I want to hook off the bottom to know that it's fishing, so it's not caught up on anything. I don't use a pop-up because I want it to stand out. I'm trying to fish for fish that are, you know, quite onto that. So I'm not saying you're not going to catch big fish on pop-ups because you bloody can. But generally, towards that back end of the year, the autumn, the been caught, the pressure, something on the deck is definitely, hands down, more likely to get taken than a pop-up by them sort of fish because they're onto you, you know. At times it will go in, clean it all out and leave the pop-up. You know, you've been mugged. So, yeah, and again, it goes for I've got one type of bag rig, one type of hook length that I use for photo fishing, one type of zig. You know, so I've got just one, you know, so I don't have multiple pop-up rigs and multiple bottom rate rigs. I think you've got to, you know, for anyone that's looking to pick up any information in these podcasts, I'd say that's good advice. You know, you've got to find a rig and build confidence in it, you know, and that is ultimately why my rigs will never change. I've got no reason to change them. I've got no reason to fault them. You know, I've caught all my biggest and best fish on the rigs that I use, you know.
Particularly that noodle rig, like I use as probably my go-to bottom bait rig. As I said, the only one I use in similar concept is like a silicone blowback rig, similar with a bit of shrink tube, but it doesn't have that noodle. Where did that whole Discovery shrink tube noodle rig come from? Because it is the kicker that's different, isn't it? Yeah, it's all about that kicker, and basically all it is it's a concept that's been developed basically by. So I used to use long shank curve hooks, your nailers, you know, them sort of, you know, what was it, nailers, your mugger and nailer, they're the hooks I used to use, long shank curves back in the day, you know, talking Linch Hill, linear and before, and a little bit on Linch, but it soon became apparent, more so when I got to Oxford, using them hooks was definitely, it was coming on the scene that they were dangerous hooks, tearing mouths, you know, hook eye getting caught in nets and, you know, in the weed, and they were savage. They are pretty savage, you know, long shank curve hooks. And if you have a look at that hook, that's basically what it is. It's an exact replica of a long shank curve hook, but the second half of it is made of plastic rubber that can straighten out on the fish's mouth when under tension. And it actually, I love it because when that's running on the fish's scissor or what have you, or on its lip, it's a thick piece of, you know, rubber. Yeah. We're now using the kickers from Thinking Anglers, but you know, when it was shrink tube, and I was using it as shrink tube, it was the same. So it's a bit of almost protection for the fish's lip rather than what the curves were doing, and that's where it all came from. And because it just flips perfectly in the right part of the fish's mouth, basically that soft palate, that sort of that gape, you know, you, as soon as that end of that noodle comes out, bang, it flips there and it goes straight in the perfect place. And touch woods, mate, I'm going to touch wood as well. You know, I tell you now, I lose very little fish. I can't, you know, I can think of the ones that I've lost now in recent times, but I lose very little, more, definitely less than I used to. Yeah, because all my tackle is souped up, ready to go for a big fish. Really, you know, the rigs I trust, the braids, the 4 leader. It's thick. It's 0.50. You know, it's so heavy. The 4 leader, so heavy, so strong and durable. Coupled up with the braid, it's a deadly weapon. It's so amazing. You can move fish in weeds, no problem. Walk back, and it's you know, mono. I could never. If you told me I had to go back to mono now, I'd quit fishing. I wouldn't, but I tell you now, braids with that 4 leader. That 4 leader is your bungee, it's your invisibility, it's deep, it's honestly. But it's worth mentioning as well, if you are going 4 leaders, I'd say 0.50, 0.47 as a minimum diameter, just because of lifting scales. If you're fishing it straight through, then. But yeah, so
don't even know where we were, but that the noodle. Well, at the end of the day, if I'm fishing a lot and I'm using that rig a lot, I'm going to catch fish on that rig, aren't I? There's no saying that had I had another rig out, I wouldn't have caught them. But whether that is true or not, it doesn't matter to me. I've caught them on that rig, so that's the one that I've got confidence in and built confidence in, and I'll continue to use it until probably my days are up or the fish wise up to them, and I'd have to sit. But, I've seen it more recently, so on the underwater, that we did on Linch, on Willow, and them fish are very clever fish, and it worked a treat on there. So to see that, I've seen it in the edge, and it's spit and done. They suck it in, they spit it out, and it's game over. Sounds a bit dodgy, that, doesn't it? Again,
no. Sorry, I think on a fishing podcast, you're all right, man. On a different podcast, you're struggling.
Yeah, sorry, mate. It's because I'm looking at you. You got them misty eyes.
Intense eyes.
Yeah. Basically, it's job done. I've seen it do that in the edge so many times. Very little times have I seen it get done. Very, very little times. So it gives me that confidence out in the pond, and then to see it on underwater in a deep water situation, in a normal fishing situation, working exactly the same, it just solidified my confidence in it. Is that a good word?
Yeah, very good from you. Your vocabulary is picked up, mate.
Yeah, I act quite clever.
You definitely are. Back to Bite Mark. You had those rigs on for Bite Mark. Yeah?
We haven't even got to the Bite Mark story.
I brought you back,
mate. That was. You brought me back.
I've kept you.
So yeah, I had a couple of noodles out. I've had his mate, Yellow Leather. Got this one rig out, and honestly, I'm pumped. I'll send you this bit of video, mate. I'm pumped. I've rung Nick. I've done the pick, slid him back, rung Nick, said, mate, you're going to have to come down here. I've seen that fish show again, so I've got this hippo jumping on me. And I said, come down here. And he's got in the swim, and I'm like, jumping round. I said, get me phone here. I said, what's that right-hand rod, that right-hand rod? And then I do the worm, yeah? Do the worm, yeah, on the video. And then I swear to God, I sit down, and I literally just have this take, and it goes, did it. And I'm like, tense, man. And then literally, as I thought tense, it's just gone, honestly, mate, melting. I'm like, get the camera. And I've picked this fish up, mate, and it's just steamboating off. And, long story short, got it in the net, flipped it. Adam Smith netted it. He flipped over, and that was it, mate. I'm not going to end with the line that I ended with on the film that Warbo shot, because if he's watching this, he'd know that line was coming then. Basically, he still rips, everyone rips me that sort of knows what I'm on about here. Basically, I shot that film, and at the end of the film, I finished on the Bite Mark story, and I said, and that was me done on Stoneacres. And then since then, I've been back so many times. Because there's fish that I still want to catch in there, man.
Yeah, no, I don't think there's anything wrong with that, mate, at all. But I like the fact that everyone takes a mickey out of you. That's brilliant.
Bullying, that is.
So, in essence, that was you done on Stoneacres. You done on Stoneacres for a bit of time.
Yeah.
Where did you go to next, and why? Because it's pretty epic where you decided to head to.
Burghfield. Sorry, mate. I was looking at your trainers. Shocking,
I've got
mate.
Sliders on, mate.
Yeah. Well,
you got an issue with sliders?
Non-essential, mate.
Non-essential sliders. You must have a pair of sliders.
No.
I can imagine you, mate.
You come in my swim with them on, you're going to slide right out of them.
These are perfect for climbing trees up to like 40 foot. You know what I mean?
I'm only joking. I'm only joking.
Right, now you've mocked my footwear. That's because that Stoneacres gag.
I had them in jail, didn't I?
You would have had them in
sliders.
Flashbacks.
Started in, mate, in the shower.
Let's not talk about jail, shall we? It's still sensitive to you, mate.
Yeah.
I noticed you didn't use the soap in the old toilets.
Burghfield was next, mate. It goes without saying about the fish, and this is by no means me bigging it up or big. Burghfield's Burghfield. At the end of the day, it's another progression. I would say, although I felt like I was, capable of catching fish. I think everyone always does. It was again another scary sort of step in angling. I was supposed like that, like the linear to. From my ways to linear, there's pressure in that situation, and then it's a step, and then again from linear to Linch, that was another progressional step, I would say, and then from church to Stoney, I'm sort of building all these sort of chicks in my armory. What's this word?
Yeah, I'll give you that. Nicks and chicks. I don't know what's going on here, mate, but I like where you're going with it, so we'll keep
basically,
going.
I was, I'd done the bites fishing, I'd done the edge fishing, I'd done the out in the pond for pressured fish fishing, I'd done the boat fishing now. Not that I used the boat on Burghfield or anything.
But realistically,
I was building up these different strengths in my own fishing. That's what I'm after. But it chinks me out. I'm trying to sound good, aren't I? An intellectual.
Well, you are good and intellectual. But Burghfield, even now, I would say, is probably up there with the hardest prospect, that single fish in that body of water that you could probably take on as a carp angler. So was that a motivating factor, the fact that it's tip of the ice, like top of the tree? It's the Everest, if you like.
I'd definitely say so. It's just it's just the history of that fish. I've obviously told this story a few times in different ways and in different places, but I've always seen it as the last of the Mohicans. The last one that I sort of the history fish, if you like, that I grew up watching and looking at and aspiring to probably catch when I was nowhere near ready to even, but you do, don't you? Whether you're not near that level or not, that's what you look up to, So
which capture you look back at from the Burghfield that stands out? Which one? Because there's Terry's, there's Nigel's.
Just the lads that brought it on the radar, really. There's a lot of amazing captures of it, say a lot. There's some great captures of it that I now know about, but didn't then, so it's the ones that bring it on the radar, isn't it? You like Terry and Nige and that sort of era. But yeah, it was the last one, and it was always on the radar. And I got my ticket. The spring that I caught bite mark, that ticket came up, and I just like boom, transition, perfect timing, and went over there. And yeah, it definitely isn't for the faint-hearted. Isn't for the faint-hearted, mate. It's an incredible place, beautiful in every way, but an absolute head fuck. For all, it's everything is against you. You've got your boats, your buoys everywhere. These speed boats up and down. You've got nuisance fish, bird life that you've never seen. Like a million swans at a certain time of year that just going through your life. Just everything that you could ever. You always have a lake. There's always a little pet hate on a lake, isn't there? Like whether it be the crayfish, or the birds, or the kids jumping off bloody this and that. There's always a little pet hate on each lake that you go on. This was them all rolled up into one big bogey, mate. You know what I mean? Like honestly, like it was everything. 26 islands out of bounds, like you wouldn't believe. 30, 40 acres out of bounds and stuff like that. It was never going to be easy, and then just this one fish among quite a lot of other fish. The sort of the new stock. The escapees that came out of Blue Pool. It was never going to be easy, and I'm not gonna try and butter it up and say that I just went on and terminated it. So I struggled, mate. It's not an easy place mentally, physically. Getting on them, you had to have a lot of drive, and to catch consistently on there, you'd have had to be doing something. Like say for instance, like Tom Stokes Pump. That's a mate of. Got another lad that I've picked up in my sort of travels, if you like, as a real good mate. We still chat to this day. Most of me just punishing him for info. What are you doing, mate? What are you doing? No, honestly, I love him. He's top lads, and he caught consistently on there, and that even I didn't do that. I definitely didn't do that. I fished it in a different way. I would say that the way I approached it was different. But yeah, I definitely didn't. I didn't click it that lake in that way where I could catch consistently. Could find them quite consistently, but catching them was a different story. But at the same time, I'm probably putting myself down a bit there, but I didn't try to angle it that way, if you like. So what I'm trying to say is, if you were someone who just went on there to catch fish and fish and fish, it ain't gonna happen. So it'd soon just absolutely end your game, really. And I'm not. It's hard to, I keep saying, I don't want to make it sound, but it is just a minefield of islands and channels and out of bounds and everything, and then there's just this one fish, and if your name's on it, I suppose. easy as that. And then next, what's next?
I think there's a bit more to it than if your name's on it, your name's on it. There's a bit of luck, but there's an awful lot of hard work and getting things right.
I definitely worked hard. Just lapping it, would take hours and hours and hours. It'd take you a day probably to do a proper lap. Well, you could do a couple in a day really if you skip to it. Once you first start there, it takes you a long time. But as soon as you start to familiarise yourself with the lake itself, but also the fish, where they're getting in times of day and areas and all them sort of things, then you can start to narrow your sort of check spots, if you like.
Yeah.
Where, I knew there were certain areas, and this might sound like, oh no, you should check everywhere. You should check everywhere, but there comes a period where you've checked a certain area so many times, you could basically walk past it without climbing a tree, without to just have a visual check like, no, they're not there. I'd still always walk and check, but you don't need to waste your time getting up the tree, because basically what I mean is just like a dead area. There's a scum sat on the surface that hasn't even got a little golf hole in it where not one's jumped out or anything, So you just knew they weren't there. It was just devoid of fish all the time. But then now and then you'd come across one, you'd see you know what I mean? You knew if they were there or not, basically. So yeah, it'd take you a long time at first when you first started on there, but you soon start to narrow it down and you can do it in a few hours. And I was just baiting spots in areas, and I had a few good opportunities. I say good opportunities, I had a few good sightings of her. But, in my first season, the way it all started, I'm not dancing around the Burghfield subject at all, but basically, way it all started really is I went on there to catch fish, and I remember I had one quite quick in pit 2, in the edge. I thought, buzzing, first Burghfield fish and all this, and what I did is I actually angled for that fish. I saw that fish, I saw it feeding, and I fished for it. Which sounds like the right thing to do, no doubt, to you and probably people listening. But as soon as I caught it, I thought, or not as soon as I caught it, afterwards when I put it back, I thought, what am I even doing? I'm here to catch Burghfield common. I just spent probably 3, 4, 5, 6 hours at least trying to catch this fish. Got it in the end, but it's not the one that I'm after. What's the point in visually trying to fish out this one that was a mid-20 pounder? When I could have been, that time could have been better well spent looking elsewhere to find this one that I am after, and that was the mindset from then, not always, but, pretty much it was always a one in a sight, tunnel vision, keep looking, it's nice, see 40 pounders, 50 pounders, swimming rounds, big fish, not her, where is she? She's not here. That if I found a load of fish and I could get up a tree and see that whole area, say for instance, one of the bays, say Alsatian Bay down the bottom end, been sat up this tree for an hour, I've seen all these fish and none of them are here, I can write that area off. I'm using the other fish and I'm using it as a process of elimination. If I can find where she's not, I can narrow it down to where she is or might be. She's out there somewhere.
Yeah, of course.
So that was always the mindset, really. So I caught very little. I did have a few in that first year. I lost more than I caught.
Did you?
Yeah, I lost. I think everyone's got a Burghfield loss story. Always the common. But, you just never know. I got one of the most heartbreaking things that I did on there, I remember, was I was up a tree. It's the first time I'd ever encountered her. She was down towards the dog leg. There was a plateau out there that I'd had it taking these chops off, and I caught a fish straight away because there was a few out there that were definitely grouping up for spawning, and a few fish were spawning. She wasn't, but that is the time to catch her.
Yeah,
that is the definitely time to catch her. And she was down there, and I caught this one fish. I remember they were that spawning. I remember there was a guy who was fishing further up from me. He hadn't seen her, but I told him that she was down here, and where he was fishing was cutting me off. And I told him that I'd seen her spawning and I was packing up, and he packed up and went, and I stayed. I felt a bit bad about that, but yeah, basically I've had one fish and she was still there, and I remember Miles came down to me as well. Oh, weird! It was such a strange session. This was loads of weird things happened. I saw a massive guy living it rough from a foreign country. He looked like that guy at Mean Machine. You ever seen that? Ooh, the big
What, the
guy.
monk?
No, the big, not Mean Machine, the American version, Longest Yard.
Oh, Longest Yard. Oh, yeah.
Like him, but he had a green line tattooed down his face, straight down the middle here. Honestly, he stunk. I could see where he's living, and I pooed my pants, mate, because he had this big long leather coat on, rough and rugged as anything.
Proper lump.
Yeah, man, he was definitely some mad killer on the run. He was 100%, mate. Right. And I was down in these woods on Burghfield with all this expensive gear, hiding away. But anyway, the Common was there, so I was there, man. Yeah. I remember Pump come down that night, and I told him about it, and we were a bit like, just shout if anything happens. Like,
just shout loud.
I'm getting bombed.
I'll definitely come and save you.
Yeah, so, yeah, I've got the Common was down there, and I remember Miles coming down, he was like, Massive stairs, fucking massive, look how big it is. Like, and he was like, I was like, chill out, man, you know, he was like, get a piece of bread now. Like,
get a piece of bread.
Yeah, like, it was right. You know what? I went from that moment on, and I've always said it to my brother, especially, or to anyone, I said, because I've had a few chances at it where I feel like I could have come close to catching it, and it's just never happened because I've been so stealthy and so everything, and it was so hard to catch. I always said, if I ever see it again, I'll just throw a piece of bread at it. And that's what I say to my brother. I'll just say, if you ever see it, just throw a piece of bread at it. Yeah. Don't try and go cook carp, you know, put this rig there, get him there. Never works. If it was that easy, you know, a lot of people can find it. If it was that easy to catch in the edge, it'd have been caught more. Yeah. So I just always say to him, and he's done it. He has seen it. He's had it a couple of times. I remember he told me a story where he free-lined this piece of bread at it. It was right near it for ages, and then the seagull come down. Oh. No, he's. I think the seagull might have worked in his favour. He'll probably correct me, but I'm pretty sure it picked it up and it dropped the bread nearer to the Common, and he still didn't catch it. But he said it was the most intense half hour of watching the Common sat next to a piece of bread that he's ever had.
Anyone fishing Burghfield? Nash bread bombs are available.
Yeah, no, I just do the roly-poly, don't you? You ever used to do that?
No, you don't, Scott.
Sorry, bread bombs are available in the stores now. Batteries are not included. I'm trying to do that radio voice.
It's good, man. It's not bad for you.
Yeah, how do you speed everything up? You know?
I'll sort it out.
And then your batteries not included.
Yeah, terms and conditions.
Terms and conditions, mate.
Go on, we've gone off.
Yeah, so basically, I've had this. Where was I? Yeah, so she's down there, Miles is there. He's like, and I said, no, I've had it. I've seen it go under that tree and it's scraped through the weed, and I've got a rig down there. And I had this choddy on the bar. I've had it for taking these baits, and this plateau is that shallow that seagulls can dive bomb my choddy. Yeah, you know, they were dive bombing coming down, and then you see your chod left out of the water. Yeah, brilliant. That's how. Do you like me seagull?
No, just the prospect of having a bar that shallow when you've got a fish that big near it.
Yeah, so you knew every time that one went over the bar because its back came out. Yeah. So back to, well, I'm not going to go right into the depths of that story, but I want to pull you back to what was my worst experience then. Is I had this little camera, my brother's it was, little Panasonic Zoom jobby, bang on, crystal clear, yeah, and I've got up the tree, and it didn't have loads of battery, but I had enough to give it a good sort of 20 minutes of filming, you know, so it's quite a bit of battery. And I filmed this Common, mate, for a good 15 minutes, I'd say, and she was amazing. I got the best views I would have ever seen of it, and still, to this day, the best, you know, that anyone, I've seen a lot of people's footage of it. I was watching it through the screen, mate. It was amazing. She was big. So this is the year before I caught it, the spring, late spring, May time, I would say this is May, mid-May, before I caught it. So obviously we know how big it was when I caught it. So the year before, I'm pretty sure, I think it was bigger. This visual that I had on her, because although, yeah, I think it was bigger, definitely, because I remember she was sat there and I could see the bulge from over her shoulder. Her shoulder's massive, and I could see the bulge. And you know, when a Common is almost like when it's about to explode, you see the scales. It looks quite cringy, doesn't it? Like exploding out. You can see the white bits under the scales all the time. It was like that. It was ready to pop. Like she was, and I had this amazing footage. And I thought, right, that's enough now. The battery thing started flashing. I thought, I've been rolling for that long. I don't know if it saves if the battery goes, sort of thing, you know. Yeah. So I cut the tape, got down the tree, and I closed the camera and that. And I sat there. I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna have to watch it back. So I thought, I don't care if the camera battery goes now. So I flipped the camera open, powered it on, pressed play, and the video is just me getting down the tree.
No.
Mate, honestly, it broke my heart.
So your off was your
all
on.
I've done. I've been sat there watching it through this fucking screen and not pressed record. And then I've pressed record to stop and got down the tree, man. It honestly
haunts you.
Oh, mate, it broke me. It did, you know, and because that, for me, I love filming fish. You'd have seen me.
Yeah.
You'd have seen so many videos. Anyone that knows me or follows me or watches the stuff that I love to watch the fish, and it honestly, it broke me. The best, most prestigious carp in its own natural environment. Yeah, it's nice having them on the bank. We all want to catch them and all that. But there's something about watching a fish in its own natural environment. You don't know it's there. You know it's there, but he doesn't know you're there. And you're just watching it go about its natural behaviour. Honestly, that for me, it just does it for me. Honestly does. And
15 minutes worth as well.
Yeah, mate, it was incredible. I had it doing all sorts, mate. Honestly, it was amazing. You know, just to see that fish, you know, it was brilliant. It's up here. I've got it, but you know, to capture it and store the moment and let other people see it. You know, it's
you
not
got
about
some footage of it.
I've got some mega footage of it still. Yeah,
I remember seeing it. You put it on your page, didn't you?
Yeah. So I've got a video of it. As I'm having mixers. I've got a few different sightings of it. I've got a video of it boshing out. Seen that one?
Yes, I think that's the one that I did see.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I don't know if you can put videos over this, but I can send them.
Yeah,
you can have them. So
I've
got a slow-mo video where it just fires out. And I remember setting it up, and because I'm pretty sure I see it show there. It showed when I definitely see it show. It showed twice, and it showed in a certain way, and a certain way was explosion.
Boom!
Pretty sure I heard it in the night once that I thought was it. But there is other big fish there, you know. So a 50-pounder to whatever weight she was at the time wasn't that far away, you know. So you could never say from the night, but visually in the day, there's another big common in there, but it ain't that big and it ain't earth-shaped. The little pinhead on it stands out, I think. You know, say it's a pinhead, it's just because its body's so big. It's probably a normal size head. It's probably a big head.
Yeah.
But it's just because it's got such a big body. But I see it show in that area, and I was in Speedboat Point, and it was like over sort of in Barnett's area, probably a good 250 yards from me. I was quite happy where I was because I thought they're going to come down. But I did have a spot around near where it showed, and I thought, do I, don't I? And I see it show, and I thought, bloody hell, sure, that was definitely her. And I set this camera up on this, on the spot, and I see a bit of fizzing, and all of a sudden it just goes like, I'm like, I hope that's recording. Close. Yeah. Watch it back. Yes. So yeah, I've got some great footage of her, and that first year, like I said, I didn't really do loads of time either. That first year, but I did learn a lot about the lake, a lot about the fish itself, a lot of do's and don'ts. You know, I think your first year is always a lot more learning, especially for me. And I'm sure you've started to build a picture of the way my angling is.
Yeah.
I definitely built myself a picture of what I wanted to do and tried to target it the following year. And I always thought it was going to be a bit of in the edge, a bit of, you know, something like that, you know, from the previous encounters that I've had with it. You know, generally, the fish that I see are the ones that I catch, you know. It speaks for itself, doesn't it, you know? If I'm not seeing a fish, then I'm not going to catch it. You know, as simple as that. So, and I had a big plan of how I was going to go about it, but it was definitely... one thing worth mentioning is, so there was a swim called the Compound Swim that was actually closed. It was actually me that got it opened up. It was in my first season. Probably towards the back end of the year, I got in touch with Phil Greenacre. I'd spoken to the bailiff, and he said, you're going to have to ask Greenacre. And I got into Greenacre and asked him if I could fish it. It was a bailiff's only swim. Okay. And it was bailiff's only because it fished over like a bit of Alex's land, the Pullens who live in the middle of Burghfield. There's a bit of conflict. This is why there's so much out of bounds and that, blah, blah, blah. Won't go into that. But yeah, basically I asked him, I said, the bailiffs aren't fishing it. Any chance I can have a go now? Spoke to Alex. I'm actually quite pally with him. This is the guys who own it. Said he doesn't mind. I've just got to get permission from you now. And he said, well, just leave it with me and I'll get back to you. And he rung me up next day. He said, and this is an area where, you know, fish obviously get, you know, no one had really had the opportunity to fish it. The bailiffs didn't utilise it.
So even the bailiffs didn't fish it?
No.
Oh, right.
No, not really. You know, it was just quite a shallow bay. But you understand why they didn't fish it and why becomes quite a big part of this story when I go a bit further in. So just bide your time.
Sorry, mate. Excited, aren't I?
Getting excited. So yeah, it's just worth mentioning this little part of the story, how it, because this is where I caught it from in the end. But it was actually, so basically he's rung me up and he said, yeah, gonna open that swim, mate. And I said, oh, buzzing, yeah. So I was like, do you want me to I'll feed back to you how it's going with Alex and that, if I have any issues, I'll let you know and like that. And I'll just, because I was basically saying I want permission to fish it and no one else, And basically he went, oh, no, we're just going to open it. I was like, what? And he was like, yeah, we're just going to open it for everyone. I was like, shit. I said, well, tell you what then, just don't go out your way to tell anyone and let it come out, naturally, And he was like, all right, yeah, I'll go for that. So I got in there and it was shit. Honestly, it was a shallow bay about 6-8 feet for about 100 odd yards and I couldn't cast any further than that really, where you really wanted to be. It was so weedy, it was savage and there's nothing really going on in there. So I sort of rid it off anyway, that area. But fast forward a year to the next spring, that was the place to be. Like, because it fished the open water and the deep water, this was the first spring of that area being open for probably 5 years. And he lived, it was technically out of bounds, and what had happened is they brought in the bait boats. So when the year before where I couldn't cast out there, it now became reachable for me. The zone that I wanted to be fishing the year before, I did a little bit of dinghying and that out there, bits and bobs. You shouldn't do, did it all safe. But I knew that I needed to be out there. Basically, from what I'd found with the boat and that, it shelved off just over 100 yards. It starts to shelve off into this deep water, and it dropped down to just on the point of this island on the left hand side. It shelved down to about 16 foot, came up a little bit, and then dropped to 18. It had this a bit of a whatever that is.
Like a little ridge.
Yeah, like a little ridge, and it was it's full of quay. I was getting all sorts coming up on the thingy, on the old leads, on the thumping leads, and I just knew that was going to be a mega zone. And I think, I'm not making it about me. Everyone knew it was going to be a mega zone in the spring. The lads that knew that was going to be a good place to get. And basically, they woke up there, and it's worth mentioning that this fish was a loner. It was a real loner. I haven't mentioned that. I never really see it. I never saw it in a pack. And I don't think I know anyone that has either. Any footage that I've seen of it, it's on its own or with one or two of its little mates. Like I said, with the bite mark thing, having a couple of mates. This one had a couple of mates, definitely. There was a little mirror that I see it with. There was a bigger mirror, which is called the classic fish, that I see it with a couple of the classic carp. See it with once, possibly twice down this channel, but it was hard to see. And then this little common with a twisted mouth, like that. And I didn't know this fish, but it looked like an old crusty thing. You know what I mean? There's only there must be probably 3 originals in there now. It's got to be this common, the classic. And the common, maybe. I could be wrong. Someone could correct me. I'll hold my hands up and say, but I'm pretty sure that's it. And yeah, that's worth mentioning because what happened is there was a lot of fish out in that zone when I turned up. I was at the big one. You were there.
You were, mate. I remember speaking to you.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah. So it was red hot. Actually had a 4 out with Ed Betteridge at the show there. I was working on the Grays Hardy stand. And I'd been Burghfield on the way.
That's right.
Fished there on the way, primed the zones. And I think I was with my brother. I think we went down together. Because basically my brother didn't have a ticket. Yeah. My brother didn't have a ticket and he was getting a ticket after the big one show. It was starting. So this story's going to come together in a minute. So basically it was the end of March, start of April or something like that. And he got a ticket. At that time, we went to the big one. We stopped off at Burghfield on the way. Then we went to the big one. We were there, mega show, blah, blah, blah. And on the Sunday, it was 20 odd degrees.
Yeah.
April's first warm day of the spring. You'll remember it was red hot, sweltering in this. And everyone else was like, oh God, we can't wait to go home. And I was like, I need to get to Burghfield. I need to get there. And I said to Ed, Ed, I'm going to have to go, mate. And he was like, he weren't happy about it. I said, look, he said, we all want to go home, but you need to help pack the stand away. And I said, yeah, but come on, mate, you want me out there? And, you know, I got to get Burghfield. I said, it's all right for you. You're going home. I'm not going. You don't want to get home to your missus. You know what I mean? I want to get home. I want to get to Burghfield. So basically, I've left, and he was just like, "Oh, you always do what you want to do anyway." Blah blah blah, and all this. We didn't see eye to eye. Me and Ed. Well, I'm not knocking him. Me and Ed knew each other from Stone Acres and all them days, and you know, I still say up to him, and we get on today. You know, I'm sure. Don't hold any grudges, but yeah, we definitely fell out then and left it at that, you know, and just left. I had to go. As simple as that. I was going.
Burghfield's calling.
And then we come up with the fridge excuse again. My fridge is broke out. I've got to go.
My van was breaking. Oh, no, I need to get there.
So, yeah, I've got there, mate, and I've got in there. I did go for a mooch around, but I knew where I needed to be. I was actually there with Wildboard a week before and had woke up well further out. That'll back that up. It was like long. I was fishing barnets and I actually moved around into the compound swim, and I was just like towing them out long. They were out there, but nothing happened anyway. And yeah, I thought this is where I need to be. And yeah, got the rigs out. I was fishing 2 off this left hand side of the island, 1 off to the right, and it was apparent they were there. You know, I was seeing them, you know, up the back, because again, this was out of bounds from the year before. You know. But we had this new water. It all flipped and changed, basically. The water that was out of bounds had come inbounds, so we had loads of other new water as well opened up to us. No Carp Bay, Pinchwood Point, all them types of areas that we couldn't fish the opposite side of Alsatian Bay and all that. Some mega areas had been given to us, but at the same time, some great areas had been taken from us. But yeah, we obviously had this swim as well, this compound swim. And yeah, I had these 2 off the pointed island where I'd seen fish showing, and the year before, you know, I remember many times sat there with Neil Mundy and George Benos and that, you know, they're good lads on there, and Pump as well. And you'd see him over near that island, mate, like that, like dolphins. Like, oh, I think I'd only be there. And the next minute, I'm there, you know. Nice. So you got to capitalise on anything, you know, the amount of stories that you hear in fishing, you know, it's like, especially like Terry's stories, you know, like something always just seems to happen like that, you know what I mean? Like, oh, they just had the pump on that day and it was piling in down with the Stone Acres story, you know, just had the pipe draining the soup pond, and that's how he caught Choco. And I'm not begrudging him any, that's mega angling, but it's just sometimes when things like that happen, you've got to capitalise on them. It's as simple as that. And anyway, yeah, these fish were there, and I actually lost my first 2 bites. It's savage. What happened? So the first one, I had connection with it, bang, cut off, wound it in, had a burr on my swivel. I thought, this is that shelf. And then before I could do anything, the other rod's gone, and I had this one on for quite a bit. And you know what? I'm going to tell the true story about this, because I've never really got into it. But you could have the true gossip.
Oh, I love an exclusive, mate.
So this is an exclusive. But basically, the compound swim had the little compound and the big compound, looks different side of the islands. So I was stood in the little compound looking out for this second bite, and I've walked back in, and my rod's gone. And I'm like, what the fuck? I've got my receiver, and I've got this fish, and it's right out there, and I'm like that, and I've got it back, and I can feel it coming back up that shelf, and it cut off again. And I was fuming, mate. And basically, when I've got my rods back out, I've put the alarm on, and the alarm's broke. I've already had one break on me before and cost me a bite, and I was using Ed's alarms. Ed, yeah. So basically, I rung him up, and I just said, "Listen, Ed," I said, this is us parting ways. I said, we had this stuff at the show, and I've just had a.
So this is literally the day after.
So
or the same day.
Yeah, this is the next day. Next day. Yeah, basically, this alarm's cost me this fish. I'd already had it. I'm not at the end of the day. Tackle's tackle. It all has its expiries and that. Prices you pay and all that. Not digging out that, but basically that's what happened anyway. I just wanted to tell the truth about it, and I just said, Ed, I said, we're parting ways from this moment on. Me, Hardy Grace Chubb, that's it. I said, if you want to tackle whatever, we'll sort it out, mate. But it's just not for me. In hindsight, looking at it, it's just the stuff I was using couldn't stand the test of time on Burghfield, because that place is all terrain. You can't barren that to some places. So probably it would have happened to any tackle. So I'm not just digging them out. See how that was a nice save, wasn't it?
No, it's good, mate. It's good. Political, perfect.
Yeah, that's it. So I'm not digging it out, but that's what happened. So yeah, next straight away though, I'd have 2 cut-offs. Luckily, I got both parts of my leader back, so I knew it was quite safe. I hadn't left them trailing loads on the line and that. And obviously fishing drop-offs and that. So I knew I had to change something. Otherwise, if I'd lost another or anything like that, I'd have give up fishing it. I couldn't do it. 2 fish, but I knew that I hadn't had time to change the approach. So what I did is I re-spilled everything up to braid, straight through to 8 feet of lead core. Yeah, so no leader, no nothing. Absolutely savage angling. Yeah, big size 4 strongs up, using the wide apexes at the time, big souped up hookses. Big souped up hooks, and the basically it was Burghfield built. You know what I mean? Something to you know, it taught me a cool lesson, if you like, but one that I needed to learn fast. And if this hadn't have happened, you know where this story's going to go inevitably into the capture. And if these things hadn't have happened, that would have been the common that would have touch wood. Well, not touch wood, because
it's happened, mate. You're all right. You got it.
Oh, just so it doesn't happen again. That's there you go. So there we go. So
he's gone.
You've gone.
He's taken half a bottle of Coke.
So
3 flapjacks.
We're talking about the Burghfield Common and now this. So right, listen. So I've souped it all up. I'm Burghfield ready. I'm fishing for a bloody hippo, mate. You know, a train. You know, I'm fishing for a train. You've got to fish like you're fishing for a train. You know, someone that's going to land it, whether it costs you bites because it's a little bit savage or a little bit more blatant, it doesn't matter. At least if you do get a chance, you're gonna have a good chance of landing it. So yeah, that's what I did, and yeah, it worked. Next morning, like clockwork, 9, 10 o'clock, fish showing, bite, 10 o'clock, midday, bite on the other rod. First one was like a 24, so I was buzzing, and I'd sort of learned how to guide them in the swim. Basically, there was some scaffolding at the side of the swim here, and I could get up it, and I had 13-foot rods, and by me getting up on the scaffolding while playing, giving it a bit of left, it'd guide the fish to the right away from the island, but also get the line off that ledge, so I could get them up that ledge better, you know, just for the line angle. And it worked. And then the second bite was a 42-pounder, real nice one, big, deep one, leathery, just shitter, really. One of the escapees. Say shit, it's a banger, but
it
was not the one you're after, is it? No. You know. And then I'd landed, so I'd gone from losing 2 to catching 2, buzzing. And the next day got up, did everything like clockwork. Don't change, you know, 8 broke, don't fix it. Yeah. And yeah, I got up and all the fish had gone. Yeah. Everything was over in what was now out of bounds around the boys area, which is like Carpets, Laney's type area. And my brother rang me. So basically this is my brother's first session now. He's came from the big one show at the normal time when he was supposed to, whereas I'd left early. He was over in Blonde Point, which was another new swim, and he could see up the back of my island and that. He could see where I was fishing to. Bait boating, by the way. I was bait boating out. I already mentioned that, and I was bait boating out. And he could see where I was fishing to, and he could see that it was devoid, and he was like, oh, I'm going to go for a mooch because there's mood over there. It could be down on bays. It was a warm day and all that. And I was like, this could be good time to catch the common now. Right? I'd learned in a sense that it was a loner. It weren't with them packs of fish, but the amount of times I've skipped a lot of details because this is a big story, and I don't feel we've got enough time to go right into it. But another thing that I had learned is sometimes I'd find fish in areas, a lot of the escapees that she seemed to avoid, they would leave and she would turn up. But I also have seen it in reverse where she was in an area, they would turn up and she would leave. So I was on the back end of this where they'd been in my zone, they'd gone, and here she comes, you know, for a little bit of, I don't know, finishing up what's the leftovers or something. But whatever it was, it was apparent. I'd seen it a few times, and to see a carp do something a few times is a lot, especially when you're only getting a few sightings of it ever. In its life, in your life. So any information you can read from them times was massively important. You know, the friends that it had, its behaviours, its feeding behaviours and stuff like that. And I'm pretty sure that I've not seen, most people that I know that have seen it have never really seen it feed. When they've had eyes on it, it's not, you know, they've never seen it like in the edge, ripping up, that sort of stuff. But anyway, I was sitting on my hands. I was like, plus I'd had daytime bites anyway, but I knew, so there's a few things. It likes a daytime bite. It's been caught in a day a lot. Afternoon times, red hot sun, it loves. But it does love shallow areas. It'd never been caught in deep water. I was fishing 16 foot of water down at the bottom before the lift up. I was fishing in that little trough there. And it had never been caught. So that was always something in my mind. But just, I was pretty sure the year before I'd seen it show out in that zone, in that deep water. And look, fish is a fish. You can't let all the past captures play in your mind. You've got to sometimes go against the grain.
There's also not that many captures, is there? What you got by this stage? 10, 11 captures, maybe?
I think I was the 11th.
You're the 11th. Okay, 11. So 10 captures.
I was after Laney. I hadn't been out for about 2.5 years at this point.
Yeah,
I think at least a couple of years, maybe 3. Yeah, it'd have been 3 years that summer when Laney had it. So I think I was the 11th. Yeah. Or 12th maybe, because I think it was the 11th, but then another capture came apparent from his real younger days. Roy had caught it, so bumped everyone up a peg.
Okay.
Position. So yeah, I'm there, I'm sat on my hands, I'm thinking could possibly happen here, and you never know. I'm not saying it could possibly happen like I was sat there confident that I was going to catch the bit of a cover. No. But any little tiny theory you've got in your mind, you've got to see it through. And if you don't, whether it be for better, for worse, you're going to drive home either way thinking, oh, I should have done this or should have done that. And, but this so happened was one of the times that it did work for me. And I sat on my hands and basically I was on the phone to my mum. Brother had gone walking. He was down the bottom of the dog leg. I was on the phone to my mum. The rod's gone. Left-hander at a 2. I remember, ring you back, boom, picked it up, and I could feel it. Tense fucking thing, and I remember the middle rod going beep, and I was like shit, and I've passed it under, and that decision proved to be a very, very vital decision, because it was free, and I've gone and I've got up the scaffold in. If I hadn't have passed it under, I'd have been fucked basically. It had tangles, so I passed it under the rod, got up on the scaffolding, done my thing, and it's got it in the bay. And I thought it was 10 all the way in, and all of a sudden giving me a bit like that. And looked at it, I thought, it's only a little one like that. Netted it, walked down, and as soon as I flipped it on the side, that was it. It was Panic Stations. It was a mate. It was this Twisted Mouth Common.
I thought you were going to say that was the Burghfield Common. She's done absolutely nothing. I was like, that thing is meant
like the bus. Came in like the bus. Yeah, I had a bit of weed over my leader knot, didn't it? I did the leader knot trick. Got the tea towel on its eyes.
The most infamous scrapper of all flipping monster commons. She's waddled in.
So this was its mate. It was the little common with the twisted mouth. I've never seen that fish, picture of it. I'd love to know if there's anyone watching that have seen that fish. I'll give you the picture of it so they can have a look at it. If anyone's seen it or a capture of it, it'd be great to know. It would be good because I've never seen a picture of it. I've seen it in the water a few times and in my net. So yeah, and it was, you know what? It was such a nice fish, but at the same time, I was just thinking about the common being there. I've not seen a single show in the zone. And I've got its little mate here, so I literally threw it in a retainer.
Did you? Yeah.
No, I got it out. I only had the one net with me. You ain't going Burghfield with 2 nets, mate. Come on.
Can you imagine?
So I've got one net with me. I've literally, Panic Stations grabbed this big. I used to have this massive chub retainer ready for it. Yeah, floating one. Boom, whacked it in, threw it in. Literally, I remember I didn't even tie it. Tie the retainer and I set the finger and I was watching the retainer and it was drifting down the margin a bit and I thought I can get it. I knew where it was going and basically I had this big stick and stuck it in, got it eventually, and put the net ready and that was it. And I was sat there and I was thinking, like that, and I was just about to ring my brother and tell him, and my phone rang again. It was my mum. Oh, what was it? Talking to my mum again. And before I knew it, mate, that rod that I'd just passed a rod under with the other one on just went into meltdown, mate. And it just steambolted off. And there was no do your little nifty trick up the scaffolding about it, mate. You know what I mean? It was, it was going and there was no stopping it. Wherever it wanted to go, it wanted to go. Eventually, it sort of started to swallow up. And I reckon it took probably 70, 80 yards of line off me on the first initial run, at least. But I don't know if that's exaggerated because of the braid, but mate, when it's peeling off on braid, it is unreal. The heat coming off that spool when you're trying to cup it, you know, you get your finger caught in there, it's coming off. You know, simple as that. But eventually I've managed to get up on the scaffolding, done it all right, but this fish is so far out. I was fishing about 135 yards, I think. There's something around that. Obviously, I weren't sort of rapping in that, you know what I mean? I was just...
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think it's about 135 yards off memory. And this had took another sort of 78 yards. It was out there in the abyss. It could go left or right, and I was fucked.
Yeah.
And basically, it did. It swung left. It went straight round the back of the island, and I was just pumping. And, mate, we've had the drone up there since. And that back of that island is savage, mate. Like, just death, you know, it's just death.
Instant death.
No, it's just death of trees, just loads of them, just like, and I could feel it, like that, and I'm just, oh no. And my line is just going into this bush on the corner of the island, there's this bush, and it's just going into it. I'm just like, no, man, and it's gone solid, I swear, man. It felt like it was solid for about 10 minutes, but I think it was about a second. And I was like, no. Honestly, I can feel the pain that it was giving me. And then all of a sudden, mate, I just see this bow wave on the corner. I thought, is it there? And I'm like that. And it did me a favour. It fucked itself, really. It was there on the corner of the island, and it had the snag behind it. And it swirled, and it pinged me line out of the bush, and that was it. Rah! And that was it. It just shot. As soon as I made that connection direct with it, it shot from left to right. Was going for this other, like, where Alex's land is. He got this big pontoon, real nice house, and that, you know what I mean? Big pontoon. And it was going for that. And I just give it beans. Eventually managed to sort it out. It was going left and right and mad savage runs. It was just, it didn't like being hooked, basically. And I didn't know it was it. I didn't know it was it. I didn't know it was it. I had it in my head.
Yeah.
From the bite. I've got its mate. What it's done to me. I'm thinking, I've got this thing here. And then it went round this dot island on my left-hand side here. Just literally, there's an island probably as big as this room just on my left, and it's gone round the back of it. This bar is like this, and I've seen mussels on there like that, and I'm like trying to keep my line up over this bar. I've seen them on there before, like, and I'm thinking, if them mussels are on that bar, it's gone. It's come, as I've dragged it, it's gone around the furthest part of the bar where it's deeper when it went in there, and then when I've dragged it back round, it's come over the shallow bit. Basically beats the Burghfield Common. No, it was on its belly, but it came out the water a good sort of 6 inches, and that's when I first locked eyes on it, and I see a shoulder and the head, and I just knew it was it then. And then I still had it on for another probably 5 minutes or so at least, knowing that it was it. I wish it didn't. I wish it was in the night and I didn't know nothing. And it just went in. But basically, I only just fit it in the net, mate. It didn't want to go in, lad. It was huge. And funny story of it, I would say, is I had it propped up in the net, and my brother got round, obviously. I give him peace. He's actually got a video of he's never done anything with it, and he's running. It's a selfie video. He's running like this. He's like, when your brother's got the Burghfield Common and you're down the other end of the lake and his tits are going and it's a brilliant video. I love it. And I love that he's never shown anyone it or done anything with it, because that's just our little thing. And I've just told everyone about it. Sorry, bruv.
They haven't seen it, so
no. So yeah, there's that happened. And then he got round and I was like, and I knew for 1,000% that I've got the Burghfield Common. And I went, just go and check that it's it, Lloyd. Like that. I was like, check this out. I'm sat here. I mean, that's propped up. I've drove that net into the water. I reckon I drove that net into the lake bed about 9 feet.
Yeah, struck oil, mate.
It was basically in the water. It was nailed in the water. But yeah, anyway, mate, you know how big that is. Like, it was like, of course it's it. I was like, I know it's it, but I just wanted someone else to tell me. You know what I mean? Like, in such a surreal moment, mate. And obviously, you know the weight of it. Well, do we? We'll get to that. But basically, pretty sure Dan mentioned about the scales, didn't he, on his vlog? On his thing, yeah. So we'll come to that in a minute, just in case someone hasn't listened to Dan's. But yeah, so I've got this fish in the net, and I didn't want to take it out of the water, and I didn't dare try and do some sort of manoeuvre with it. So all I did was I got this big retainer, I put it underneath the net, zipped it up, and then just cut my net off.
Sorry, you just cut your net off.
I just got the scissors and just cut it.
Brilliant.
Just cut it, and then I put my hands in with this tiny like hole right in the top because I just didn't want it to go, mate. You know, and I've put it in, and I've just got the net like that, and I've still got that net. I've still got it, and it's in my shed, and I've got the bite mark one because that broke on me when Adam netted it, snapped the arm, so I broke 2 nets on me. Too big.
Worth it for those two,
yeah. So I've still got it, but yeah, that was that, and I just love the videos of it. Is really good. That's why I love video. Just because it really captures everything, doesn't it? The memories are the best, but you know you can't deny the videos. Do you
remember much? Like I always think, like
I remember up until afterwards, basically. Yeah, because we got smashed. No, I didn't need any adrenaline, mate. Mate, a lot of people have said to me, like, they've watched the footage, they've seen the shots, and even the lads that were there, they were like, "How the hell did you hold that up?
Yeah,
with it out on your knee." I just literally, I don't like getting on my knees, like. Because I once saw a guy actually fall backwards, and that was it. You know, I actually used to do it, and I see a guy do that, and that was it. Down on your knees, you got more control to just bend over the fish. But anyway, each to their own. So yeah, and I've just no kneesed it, and I was there, and it's the adrenaline. You do it if we tried to do it now with something that's £62, it ain't gonna happen.
No, what was it? 62.8?
62.8. Basically, So come to some of the moments that we got on video were mega, you know, people cheering, you know, when they weigh it, you know, it's mad.
It's ridiculous.
You know, the noise that everyone, it's like, honestly, just scored the World Cup final goal, mate. You know? In my mind.
Well, it is though in carp fishing sense.
He probably wasn't like that. It's just like, woo, we're done. No, it was mega, mate. Yeah, ball of hay just rolls past.
Sorry, it's mega this.
Keep knocking this, mate. So yeah, we got it on the scales, mate. And basically what we did is we had the scales, we checked 2 sets. I'm pretty sure we checked 2 sets against each other. They were sound, so we knew they were pulling right. And then we whacked it up, because we knew it was big, but everyone was saying, oh, it's definitely mid to upper 50, like that. And no, you know, not that it mattered.
No.
But she was massive, but no one had murmured the word 60. No one. Definitely not. I don't think it ever entered anyone's minds. Probably even leading up to it. I mean, I'm sure everyone knew it had the potential, but and we got it on the scales, mate. And you'll see in the video, basically what happens is, so what happened is we weighed it up and it was 62.8, yeah. It stopped at 62 dead, and then when we readjusted the scales and weighed the swings and that, it was 8 ounces down, so it became 62.8. Because even in the video you hear, 62 dead, and then people said, oh, where'd you get the 8 from? But it came afterwards, yeah. So it was 62.8. And then a year down the line, must have been, it was more than that. It was when that Last of the Mohicans film came out. Sticky one on Sticky Bait's YouTube channel, just so you know.
That's getting edited. That's getting edited right out.
Edit now. So yeah, when that came out, obviously that got out to the masses a bit more, you know, video format, blah blah blah. And some guy randomly messaged me. He said he was from, I'm sure he said Weights and Measures or Ruben Eaton. It was one of the two. I think he said Weights and Measures, if that's even a thing.
Yeah, it is,
isn't it?
Part of the British.
He said he worked I have to dig it out. And basically he said, you do realise that fish was bigger than that. It got my attention because it said, I work at Weights, and the opening line was, just so you know, Scott, I work at Weights and Measures. And I've opened the message, and I've looked at it, and he said, you bottomed out your scales. And he said, if you're watching the video, you'll see that it whacks round and it just hangs dead on 62. We weighed it on a pair of 60-pound scales. So basically, apparently, if you wind them back, or if you hang 2 sets of scales, did you know that?
Yeah, 2 together.
I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah, I know you could do that.
Yeah. So he said if you'd have wound them back, it does work, but it's not as accurate, or hang 2 sets of scales on it, then that'll give you your accurate reading. So, but that is bottoms out. So yeah,
it could have been anything, couldn't it?
I never even mentioned that story to anyone at first, like that this guy had told me, apart from a few close mates.
Yeah.
But this is probably the first time that's actually gone out.
So it could have been anything, mate.
Could have been anyway, but mate, £62 weight is it could have been £52, it could have been £49. Burghfield Common, mate.
But also, I mean, don't get me wrong, historically, this is not fact checked, but it's probably one of the only times I know about when that fish has come out pre-spawning. Most of the times it's come out, it's had a pretty decent spawn, it's come out. I mean, Simon Scott's had it pretty recently, hasn't he? Mm-hmm. Like post-spawning. I don't know many occasions where it's come out when you've had it?
It was at the time. I listened to a podcast of Pumps, and he's got a really good sort of thought on it. The way he put it was, every capture of that fish is teaching us more about that fish, you know, and because there's only been so very few, but everyone is quite documented in people's minds, and you know, so it's quite easy to again build up this information. And that was it's the first sort of, I think there was another pre-spawning capture,
right?
But it was many years ago, so it was incomparable for weight, really. Then the only other capture outside of like this 2-3 week period, generally it's like a month period either side of spawning, it generally gets caught. It was only mine, that spring capture, and then John Holt's in the October capture, I think, at Weedy Bay, that were really outside of this sort of time. So they're the ones that sort of maybe give us a bit more gauge on what happens with the fish, if you know what I mean. There was a few things, you know, a lot of the capture had all been down that end of the lake, called the shallow end, not the end where I caught it, but then the last 3 captures of it, when I had caught it, were the last 2 before me, sorry, were this end. It was Aussie's in Oz Owners, he caught it in the Scaffold Swim, and Laney caught it in Laney's. But again, it was all shallow water captures. Laney's was on a bar, Aussies, from what I believe, was in shallow water. All them ones up that end were shallow water. I was in 16 foot, and then, lo and behold, I catch it there in 16 foot of water. This is just a normal fish. You know, that's what people are starting to believe. And, you know, I think by all accounts, I'm guessing Scotty's caught it there. You know, again, probably another deep water capture. Don't know the ins and outs, but where I know him to caught of, I would say it was a deep water capture. So, yeah.
Either way, mate, that is the one to have, isn't it? Like, if you could have, at the start of your sort of carp fishing career, sat down, obviously Mary and all that have gone, and you said you've had one modern day, it would be that common.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I'm glad it's in the album. You know, could have so easily still been there now. There's lads that have been on there sort of 15, 20 years, you know, and sometimes you've just got to take your own little slice and look. You know, at the end of the day, everyone that's on there is a capable angler, I would say, 100%. You know, they're all capable of catching fish and that fish, and then every now and then someone's going to throw you a slice of luck and a little bit of your own education, you know, angling is going to catch it, you know.
How do you find things post capture? Because obviously there's a lot of buzz around you, a lot of buzz around your angling, but also for you, just like, where'd you go like after that buzz? Like that,
I lost it, mate.
Yeah,
I lost the buzz. I was thinking you brought that up because you knew that, but I'm guessing you didn't.
No.
So I totally lost the buzz not for fishing. Oh no, definitely not for fishing. Sorry. I lost the buzz for campaign fishing. I didn't know I had straight away. So straight away, I've dropped over the road a fish called the baby black. It's well out there now, but at the time it was like a bit of a locally kept secret. I didn't know of the fish until I was fishing Burghfield. Baby black, mega carp, and it just, you know, I caught that the common like late April, and it was a weird time to finish a campaign. I didn't have anywhere really to go, and you know what? That was as good as any. Sick. Mid to upper 40 mirror mega carp. Let's get over there. And I was doing it. And I was catching fish, and you know, I caught a mega carp straight away. It was quite easy to locate them. Not so easy to catch them, but I did get one fish called Twofold that again hadn't been out for a good couple of years, I believe. I think a few people had said that it was gone. Red, black, 38, 39 pound. It was sick, and you know, anyone really, you know, you think that's gonna just heighten your buzz for that lake, but it didn't. There was something about, I don't know the reason what happened to me, but I just couldn't settle anywhere. That season, I ended up going. I started on there, did a bit on there, sort of fell out in love with it. Not because it was harder for anything. It's just because I couldn't settle. It wasn't. You know, I found myself driving down the motorway like. And when you get to that point, you've got to find something else. Yeah. So I was looking for another spark. So I went over to Shower Pit. Yeah. That I remember speaking to Dan. Me and Dan had many conversation on this whole thing, and he You know, he said it could be this, could be that. You know, it could just be the common, the lake, why I'd lost my buzzer, mate. I don't know what it was. You know, I haven't got a reason for it. Still haven't now. But I couldn't find this buzz. And I went over to Shell Pit again, catching big fish. Caught some real good fish. Mega. I loved it over there. Loved the first initial buzz of, you know, oh man, God, I'm like a kid when it comes to a new lake, mate. I can't wait to get there. All I know is the one target fish that I'm after and the key code to the gate, the postcode. You know what I mean? That's all I know. I don't know nothing about the lake. No digging. Might have had a look at it from a bird's eye, Google Earth before I go, just so I know where I'm going and that around to get around it. But when you get to a new lake, that is Butterfly City. You know, I can't wait to get it. And the first tree I climb, first fish I see, first spot I see, and just learning all the swims and where they fish and all the fish in there. And then when you catch one, it's like, didn't know that was in it. You know, that buzz there, I always tell people, you know, I get a lot of young lads that watch my stuff and message me and they say, you know, he give me some advice, like, what would it be? I just say, like, you know, do all the learning for yourself, because it's not, at the same time, straight away, it's not tainted by other people's angling, because them guys are probably getting it wrong anyway. But at the same time, you're missing, you know, the amount of people that mess me, what's the wraps for this? You know, what's in that lake? Where's this? You know, you know, hot spots, you know, tactics, doing it, you know, about different lakes and that. And I think you're missing the best part of a whole campaign is the learning. The capture is beautiful at the end, but the learning is the old journey, you know. So swinging back off my tangent, back to the story. I loved Shower Pit, loved it. It was mega, you know. It was all about, you know, a lot of the bird behaviours came into play there because, you know, it's shallow, so you get a lot of the bird signs, you know, like to locate fish. You know, any fish that bounced out, coots going off. You know, they did a lot of the twitching off carp and stuff like that because it was so shallow in most areas. So it was a proper bit of me. I had a fish called bloody hell, can't remember what it was called. Shows you what sort of mode I was in. Yeah, good mindset. Yeah, I had a really nice fish. What was it called? Free scale or something? I can't remember. But it's another upper 30, nearly 40 pounder. Mega one of the A-team, like, lost another good fish. I had a couple of 30s in that. In short succession, I was on fire. Basically, it is the best year's angling I've ever had without the common. Yeah, put the common in there, obviously, but take it out. It was the best years of angling I've had capture-wise, but I couldn't settle into my normal routine of fishing, and I left there. I remember went over to Peterborough doing a bit. I had a fish called Penny, one of the big ones out of, what's it called? Kingfisher.
Oh, Bluebell?
Yeah, Bluebell, yeah. Had a big fish out of there, just on an overnighter, solid bag, single rod in the edge.
Go on, boy.
I only did an overnight. But yeah, I went over there, doing a bit over there, and I just couldn't settle. I was going around all these lakes, went back Engy, did a bit there, had a couple. I just couldn't settle, and my normal way of fishing was target one, stick to it. And you know what? It was Dan who suggested it. He said, why don't you go over Christchurch? You know, you love it over there. Have a go. You know, just have a laugh. Don't take it too seriously. You know, go see. You know, because I think I was being a bit sick. You know, I needed. You know, maybe I don't know. And he suggested it, and I went over, and I think we did maybe a floater fishing feature or something. And it was brilliant. It was so good. We had such a laugh. That's where the term Eggy Lad was born. That session. I'm not going to go into what it means, but that's where it was born.
Right. Where was it born? There.
It was born in that session.
I thought it was born before.
That was born. No, that was born on that session after a quarter common.
But you're not going to tell us why. Last time I asked this about egg.
Although I didn't mention about the whole story of Burghfield, so I forgot to tell you with when I finished on there. So obviously, I just left Chubb and Hardy grazed the day before I caught the common, and then caught the common. I remember the conversation. I had a missed call off Ed. When I caught it, and I thought, I'm ringing you tomorrow, mate. You know, so I rung him on the way home the next day, and I was like, "You all right, Ed?" And he went, "No, Scott." I said, "Awkward conversation, this one."
Yeah.
And then, he said, "First of all, congratulations, Ed. I'm done, mate. I'm not with you anymore." Like, just one of them. It was funny. We laugh about it now, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think it was great from their point of view. But yeah, anyway, I'm back over it. That's where Eggy Lad was born on Christchurch, and I loved it on there. I went back to Christchurch, and you know what happened? Basically, I was on Christchurch. So this is all in the same year. I was on Christchurch, and I had a really good hit. I think there was 18 lads on, and I dropped on last. And I had in 2 nights, I had 5 fish, and no one else caught. And this young lad came down to me. He's about probably 20 odds, mid-20s. It's a young lad. It's quite old, really. Getting old now, aren't I? Yeah. So, he come down to me, mate, what is it you're doing? Like, obviously, I know you know the place. I was like, well, I'd basically cut out my swim in the night. I'd stalk one out the edge, and I'd had one these 2 available swims that were available, the stalking swims. I stalked one out the edge there, and I had a couple off the top, and then I had another one in the night on my second night. And that's how I'd caught them. And I said, well, I'm the only one doing anything different, I suppose, chasing these fish in the corners and that. And he said, would you do a tuition? And I'd never done one before. I'd done some charity ones maybe, but I'd never done one. And that's when the tuitions were born. I said, you know what, mate? Yeah, why not? And you know what? I did it, and it gave me a buzz. It gave me a different kind of buzz, as like me campaign fishing for these fish. It gave me that kind of buzz, but in a different way of learning. Like when I teach, and I don't do them anymore, by the way. But when I was teaching, I go so in depth, so in detail. Not the what I'm doing, the why I'm doing it. About every single little thing. It's these little percentages that I'm trying to teach them from the watercraft. Generally, when I was on tuitions, within the first lap of the lake, the guys were sold. They were like, mate, you've just taught me, 2-hour lap walking. 2 hours walking Christchurch is a lot of time because it's basically a puzzle. But I would stop, I would talk with the trees, I was showing this and, looking at the far margin and all that sort of stuff. So much in detail stuff. It gave me a buzz to see them. Yes, and then to do it, apply it in their own angling, and then to catch as well. Mate, this lad, my very first one, he caught PB Common, PB Mirror, not the one that I mentioned earlier. It's another one. They were all catching PBs. It was about, I was having such a mega run. I think I did about 17 tuitions on Christchurch without a blank. Jeez. They all caught. And that's hard to do on my own. Yeah. Catch myself 17 sessions. I was teaching someone else to catch 17 different people. Honestly, mate, it was incredible. And it gave me something totally different to my fishing. And what it did is it gave me that little bit of a buffer and break from campaign fishing. And it did me the world of good. Because as soon as I'd done so many of them, started to wear thin and the buzz wasn't there so much anymore. It become a bit more chorish. And I said, right, I'm going to start winding these down because my hunger was coming back. For the campaign, I wanted to. It was eating up all my own fishing time. I was basically using all because I still had my job. I was still network railing. Basically back to campaign fishing. And where did I go next?
Back on Eggy, no?
Englefield,
Eggy and Baby Black.
Mate. Yeah.
Talk me through the actual meaty end of that then, and the capture, because we've said before, it's a beautiful fish, but it's in that area probably more well known now, but it is a definite standout target in its own right.
Yeah. Let me get a swig of this.
Wee swiggy lad.
I was shut up for however many hours.
That's good, mate.
Oh yeah.
I need to.
I was open 10 minutes. What time are we on? Oh, traffic's going to get bad. I've got to go. Bye.
Fridge is gone. Fridge is gone.
Fridge is broke. Just had a message from the fridge. The fridge is just texting me. You nearly spat your drink out then.
I'll never forget that call, mate.
So again, this also it'll link in now. I was on and off Englefield quite a bit because of these reasons and going over other lakes and doing tuitions and that. And I'd had a few fish out there, so I felt like I'd almost earned my stripes. Again, air quote in there. I'd earned my stripes. I knew the place. It wasn't. I'd quite, and you know what? It's something that I still am applying in my angling today. Now, I think I've done enough and learned enough that I can. I know when the hot and cold periods to fish certain lakes are. I.e. now, if I could look back at my time on Stone Acres, I'd fish it in spring. I'd leave it once they spawn all the way up until the autumn. Because that period of time, looking back on all the captures, was a lot of wasted time. Although there was all learning and you got to be there consistent, I would quite happily just fish spring, autumn, yeah? I could have somewhere like Dinton as a summer place to fish because it fishes really well in the summer. and winter on, say, Dinton Black Swan, because that's a great winter sort of, you can get a few bites out there. So it's almost like piecing part, you're building, once you know a few lakes after you fished them for a bit, you can build their strengths together and to form a full year of fishing, and it actually keeps it quite exciting.
Yeah.
So your target's still there, your end goal, but it's not all sat in one sitting. And this is basically what happened with the Baby Black. I'd done enough time on there to sort of know the lake, the lads on it, so I was welcome, if you like. Not that no one was not welcome, but, I felt like I could drop on as and when I wanted.
Yeah.
And yeah, basically I dropped down on a session. The moon was due. It's a moonfish. Definitely, without a doubt, we'll not get into that situation with the moon and that. I haven't even mentioned the comment about the moon, have I, Burghfield?
Big moon.
Yeah, well, it was on the day of the moon, and the exchange was literally 9 minutes from when I got the bite. Weird as anything. Yeah, so this was a moonfish as well, and it's not like I went out my way to actually go and fish it on that moon specifically. Oh yeah, the moon. I'm going down there. What happened is, Dinton, and it was the year that I got my Dinton ticket. Dinton had shut for spawn, and he does like not a traditional close season, but as soon as he shows signs, he'll close till June the 16th. So that was off the radar. Calves had just been caught at Stone Acres because I was still dabbling a little bit on there to go and catch calves. There was one more target of the 3 lakes that I was targeting at the time, and it was the Baby Black. And to be fair, it made the most sense out of a lot of them because of this moon and various other reasons. And yeah, I mean, cutting a really long story short, to the session really, it started slow as anything. Got down, I basically found nothing, fished on a whim that they like the southerly wind. They do like to move on it on there. However, I was in the back of me, mate. I'd done a full lap. I got there at a weird time of day. I lapped and couldn't find nothing. It was, but nothing was going on. And I just ended up settling for somewhere with an half decent view where I could get the morning view. They did like a show, generally out in the middle, but if they were somewhere else, they would give it away. Got up in the morning, did my first night in swing swim. Nothing happened, as expected. And yeah, got up early in the morning, saw nothing. And I remember, who was it? So I had pump with something left. Obviously we were chatting and that for a bit, and I went round to Johnny Mack, and I wound in to go for a hunt but I was sat with Johnny Mack. He was in the point, and he was like, "You want a brew?" I was like, "Yeah." And I was basically sitting with John because he had the best view. No, sorry, I said that very wrong. And I wasn't sitting it with him because of that, but it was nice. I could sit with John because he had a great view, so I was almost killing two birds, chilling with my mate, having a brew, eyes fixated on the water. And I remember he was literally putting the brew kit and that together, and I was looking, and when I'm looking for fish, no matter where I am, even if I'm in a little bay or I've got 700, 800, 900 yards in front of me, I will always look as far as I can see, because then anything in between is in focus. Whereas if you're looking at your 40 yards in front of you that you feel you can fish, something goes on the far margin, you ain't going to see it. So that's a good tip for you, Hassan, because I know you're picking up tips here. I've seen you writing.
I've written them down, mate. They're in my journal. Yeah, I'm sorted.
Yeah,
I'm going Burghfield next week on that moon with a bait boat.
Yeah, with a bait boat
in a new swim.
I did have it on a tiger nut. But yeah, basically, I've seen one scatter out down near this. There's like this white buckety type thing. Beyond it was. I referenced it and looked down at John. John hadn't clocked it. Although, not that it mattered, he was doing his thing in this swim anyway, so he wasn't going to go anywhere. And I've got down, I just said, "John, I'm going to shoot, mate. I'm going to leave the brew. I need to go and have a look round on it." Sort of one of them. Shot off, literally as soon as I got out of swim, I bombed it, mate, all the way down to the bottom end, on the back of the wind, basically. And got in there, and bang. So as soon as I walked in there, I see another one. Bang, see another one. Went round the lake, saw them from a different angle, and they were sort of out in the middle. And I did move to a swim in the woods. The boats were out, the fish were out in the middle. Say middle, but middle that end of the lake, if you know what I mean. And yeah, I moved all my stuff into the woods, and it was hard work, mate. I had this freewheel barrow that I took because my back was in bits, so I'd switched to this freewheel barrow that I've never used before, and I dropped a bollock because, mate, all terrain. It's a bit all terrain, a bit like Burghfield. It wasn't, it gets fished a lot more, so I'm guessing it's probably a little bit more warm banks, but especially that wood swim. No one ever really fished in there. It's probably only myself, and I know Pump did a bit of time in there. John Mack did, but not loads. And it's just on nettles and that. Basically, I got flatty on this fucking barra. But I got my stuff there, and then I ended up, because the boat's right, I could no way I could get my rigs out in where that swim was, because it was right on the boat launch. So I thought, right, I've got my ski here, I've got this swim. Going to go back down on the back of the wind, chill there, have a beer. Took a cold can of Foster's, I think it was at the time. Drink anything. Told you it's changed, man. So I'm watching these, and then all of a sudden I've started seeing these crusty black dorsals in close, like in the flat water. Still seeing these little ones out there, but I started seeing these few fish. It was probably 3 or 4 different fish, and they were cruising up and down these sort of, it's like these little series of finger bars, I feel they were. They might be humps or bars or what. Remember finding a few with the old dinghy and that. Finding a lot of gravel out there once when I went out to rescue a fish. Of
course you did. Fish care is paramount.
But yeah, there was, but it was very weedy, eelgrass to death, and that is the worst weed in the world to fish in and around. Not that it's dangerous for them, but it's more so the fact of trying to find spots. If you don't land on the spot, you can't bounce it over like Canadian. You can sort of bounce until you feel that release, and you're like, yes, feeling, bang. Eelgrass, as soon as you're in it, you've got to bring it all back, no matter if it's 10 yards out or 200. It's horrendous. But I've seen these fish anyway, they're cruising about. I thought, like that. And then I've seen these swans come over. It was the swans, I saw a dorsal, just one initial dorsal that set it off, and then the swans came over, 2 pair of swans and cygnets. I've got this on video, I'll send it you if you want it. Swans and cygnets come over and they're pecking into the water. This swan, the daddy swan, I've seen it numerous times. Great bit of watercraft that I've learned and picked up over the years. It's found me fish at stupid ranges when I've been watching them through the binos. Swans pecking down in the water. There's fish over there, let's go, and they were pecking down, viciously, and you can see, and it's only ever happens with big fish. I've seen swans with cygnets go over small fish, and they don't do it. Do it with tension, all that. Don't do it. Big carp, something that's bigger than the cygnet, they get them fucked off, basically. Or they try to. Carp just terrorise them a little bit, really. That give it away. There was all sorts going on, mate. Honestly, I watched the vlog back not long ago. That was on it and that did of it, and you know what? I even surprised myself a little bit. And I'm not trying to blow my own at all. I'm just saying it as it is. I watched it and I thought, fucking hell, that was pretty good angling. That was, you know what I mean? I thought, a little pat on the back to me, like, and it's definitely my best vlog I think I've ever done, without a doubt. It was a great bit of angling, and a long story short, I ended up settling in the swim to the right because that one was so choked. So I could only find one spot. Basically, I let the fish venture off. I could only find this one spot, and I could get that spot from this swim to the right as well. So I thought I fished that from there, and I found these other couple of spots. I caught it. No, basically found these 3 spots, mate, and there was so much that went into it. How much detail do you want, mate? There's a lot of depth to it. Like, so say for instance, like the birds. I was fishing over so much weed. I'm fishing gravelly little holes that I picture to be, unlucky mat sizes. Maybe a little bit bigger. And my general style of fishing, I would be fishing a noodle on them. But because I was fishing over all this weed on the braid, I knew that if I got liners from the fish or the birds went through, the leads were going to get dragged on this gravel. But this is where I needed to be. They were only fishable spots. So I had to, but I also at the same time had to drop the lead to a lighter lead. So 3 ounces, generally I'm using 4s and 5s. I had to drop a 3 because it was that shallow. I couldn't get the drop. So I had to, 5 ounce lead was, you weren't getting the drop quick enough. So I switched to hinges so it didn't drag because 3 ounce leads were going to drag quite easy. And what I would do is I'd cast, bang, and I'd just pull back just to feel the gravel and pull it towards the front of the spot. That way, if I did get any liners in that, I've already jammed the leads in a little bit. You know what I mean? Rather than letting them pull, I may as well do it for it, get it in the right position. Because I know my hinge is still fluttering down like that, and I know I'm on the right spot. So all them things went into the the mindset of how it was gonna go. You got to forward think. You got to forward think in fishing. If you're not forward thinking and foreseeing things that are going to come at you, then you're going to learn by a mistake. It's better to learn by the mistakes that you've already made and just forward think. Oh shit, I've had this before. I need to do that. Because I've done it before. Put noodles on the gravel and then I've had liners in the night and I've brought them in and the hooks are done and I'm like, shit, I had fish on me. So that's where it's all come from. This isn't me just picking this up. Like, oh yeah, I should do that.
It's hours and hours on the bank.
It's learned from mistakes, every single one of them. But if we didn't learn from them, then we wouldn't get it any better, would we? And I had a bite. I did have a bite in the night, and it come off. Didn't have connection with it very long. I'd heard one rattle out on the right hand rod. That was. Got it back out in a few chucks, which is quite good, really. I think maybe 2 or 3 casts. Consider the size of the spot, and later on that night, it's about 2:30, 3 in the morning, I think. Just had this melter and it hung up solids, just towing it in, and then I've had rolling on the surface, and I was pretty convinced it was it straight away. I know a few lads that have had it, and they said it does a lot on the surface, charging, and because I'm fishing over this weed with the other rod as well, it's gone over the other line, and literally. It got to the point where I don't know if you've ever had it. Where I don't know what I keep doing. I have to be in the moment. I'm winding. I'm sat here winding.
Animated.
Yeah. So basically, I've had to. I don't know if you've ever had it when you catch the other line and you're jammed and the fish is jammed.
You can't go any further.
You can't get it towards you. What you have to do, just in case anyone ever finds himself in a situation and doesn't know what to do, is you have to get the other line and pull at the same time as your rod and then wind forwards. So I'll have the line over my arm, wind forward and then pull like that and then wind forward and then pull the line and just bring them all in together. So I've just basically brought in this big bowl of weed and line and everything else, and it's gone in the net, mate. And that was the way I caught baby black. I just towed it in basically with 2 lines because one wasn't good enough.
Just an assurance line, like tuna fishing, mate.
And and it was just and that sort of, I'd say we've done an absolute dive bomb through some big parts on my angling there, mate, and it sort of brings us up to present day, really. But
you're Dinton now, so that was your next.
Yeah, Dinton's been a strange one with me. It's caught me at a period in my life when I was dotting around. When I first got the ticket, it was that because I had the ticket when I caught the baby black. That'd have been 3 springs ago now. And when I first got the ticket in the spring, I did a little bit in the spring, edge fishing, caught quite a few in the edge, got a lot of information about them, like the stuff that I told you about earlier on, about them feeding in the shit and that, in the chod, sorry, on silt.
You're all right.
Sorry for swearing, mate.
No, you're okay.
Mum, if you're watching, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, Mum.
I learned a lot, but caught a few, and I lost one of the big ones, the one that I wanted to catch, a fish called the grey one.
You see it?
Yeah. Basically, I was the only one edge fishing. I don't see many people fishing the edge on there, and especially that time of year. It was April. A lot of lads, and they were catching. They were zigging. But I had it in my mind that I was finding fish in the edge, so I wanted to, even if I caught one in the edge for maybe 2 or 3 that I might have been able to catch on zigs, I'd rather the edge one because I was doing something a bit different, and it was what I wanted to do, basically. Baiting pole, pre-baiting little areas, find them, set the traps. It was mega fishing. I had a few, but all quite little ones, maybe up to 20 pounds. And then it was quite apparent, it's something else that I've learnt from now, that the small ones start it and the big ones come into play later. And, I found it already this year that's what's happening in the edges. And, the big ones eventually turns up. There's a day when I was in there, I've got this John's one here, the grey one. I'm pretty sure son of triple row. Sat all in a tree where they come out and get feet like that, and I'm watching them go back and say, "Oh, sorry, I did have a 30-odd pounder off the spot. Sorry,
just a fair.
Downgraded myself there. Yeah, one of the old ones, an old relic's gone now. Might be called Old Common, maybe blind eye. So it's blind. That's what I caught it. Blind,
no idea what's going on.
It's called blind eyes. These big ones had turns up, and I'll never forget. Valerie had triple row, right down the other end. Now I wound in when he had it because it was in the morning, and I knew the fish weren't going to turn up till a little bit later on. Gone down, did some vid, did some picks.
What a fish.
Love Luke. He's a great lad, class angler. We get on really well. And yeah, what a fish. Now I've gone back, got my rods out, bear in mind, and then that was the day that these fish have all turned up. I'm there, and everyone's ringing me like, "Oh, we're having a social down here tonight. It's quite a big social scene."
No, you're not.
And I'm like, kind of got a single rod on a tree here. Can't make it all the way down there, and I don't want you going down here either because I'm super stealthing. And yeah, basically, this rod is eventually. I've got the tip up like this. I remember I was single sticking peg in the butt of the rod because I was locked up. I was probably 8 feet from this from these first branches that it could get into, you know, if it wanted to steam it off. So I was sat on the rod, so much so that I'd take a shit near the rod. You know, I would not leave that rod.
Go on,
and it just so happened when I got the bite, I was taking a shit.
Wow, classic, isn't it?
Sorry, mate. I had to say it. But that's what happened.
No, it
happens. You say it as it is, isn't it? You know, we all do it. You know, it is what it is. Not on the rod.
No,
I was sat extreme, on the rod, I mean, like next to the rod. And yeah, basically I had to chop that off. So basically, obviously, nothing's got wiped and nothing, lad. I've just got on that rod. And to be honest, I think it was a bit of a self-wipe because I jumped straight in the water. So I got a little bit of a B-day type wipe. You know, I'm tap one. So, mate, I'm in, and the fish has gone out in the pond, mate, and it's steamed like that. Happy days. It's gone out in the pond where I wanted it.
Safe.
Yeah, boom, like that. And then I'm playing it like that, and then it's just gone round this tree. And I'm pulling it, and it's come through because I've braided up and that. And it's come past all these tree branches, and then it came in, and I got the net, and I got the glimpse of it like that, and it power housed into this tree that I'd just hooked it from. And it was in there, and I could see the tree all moving and that, and I thought, nah. So I bailed the rod down, grabbed the landing net, put it over my head, chasing the line through the bouncing with the mic here. Sorry, is this the bed squeaking?
The old, I think Henry's been using it, mate.
And yeah, so I'm following this line into this tree with the net over my head, and I'm breaking branches, and I've had to bail the net off because I'm trying to get through this bush. And it's catching on everything. So bailed the net, followed this line, and I found all the branches and that, and then I felt the fish, and I've snapped all the branches from around him, and I've got the lead clip in one hand, and I've popped it up on its belly, and it's the grey one. Ooh. And I'm like, fucking come on. And I'm guiding it like that, and then all of a sudden this hand's just gone. And I'm like, oh no. And
what did you do? Take a dive at the fish? Like,
no, I've got it in my arms, mate. She's there, and basically I've just gone and let it go. What came out, mate? I probably could have barreled it out of the tree, but she was safe.
You'd have had the net with you, mate.
I was in the bushes, you know. I was in and since then, so a few lads do call that, or used to call it Scott's bush, but now I think they call it Scott's shaven bush because Simon cut it out because I think someone else lost the fish in there, and it's not there anymore. So Scott's bush is now shaven. Just so you know, girls.
gone down a very dark path here, mate. We've gone from poos to shaving bushes.
Anyway, wherever that tangent came from, I only did a little bit of spring fishing on Dinton, and then I had the ticket for a further 2 seasons now, and only ever done a little bit of winter zigging on. I did a bit in January the next year. Had a few on the zigs, a bit of zigging on Black Swan as well. The year just gone in the winter again. Had a couple. I never fished it this time of year.
Yeah.
So it's fair to say now, I only went back 5 weeks ago. I went back 5 weeks ago now to, I've been off fishing for about 6-7 months due to a new business venture.
Oh.
But yeah, but now the business is all up and running and going. I'm now back fishing a couple, 2 or 3 nights a week, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday generally, at least, because it is part of the job, I expect. Well, not I expect, it is part of the job. And yeah, you know, I've got time to go out fishing now, and mate, I have been all guns blazing. Absolutely.
The buzz is back.
The only reason, mate, I've been dying to go, but I haven't been able to, because, starting my own business, you're spinning all the plates. You haven't got people spinning plates for you.
But also, you've worked hard at that, mate, because I remember you talking to me loosely about that probably, maybe whenever we did that live, 2 years ago, maybe more than that?
Yeah, it's been it sort of really got serious last October, I would expect. We've got the unit and all that. But yeah, Dinton, mate, the buzz is there. It was always there, but I just had to put it to bed for a little bit, retire it. Did this year, what are we in now? August, September now? Are we now? Yeah.
September, mate.
Yeah, September.
The first.
Okay. So yeah, see, that's why I was confused. Yeah. So
Good.
yeah, it was September now, and it's I haven't fished all year. Maybe a couple overnighters locally at Wintley Pool, and maybe did 1 or 2 sessions in the spring, which I caught an absolute banger. Why haven't I even brought that up? The Millwall fish. Did you see that this spring?
No, I didn't.
Oh, yeah, I had the Millwall fish, didn't I, from Stoneacres. That was a sick fish on a zig. It's one of them fish in Stoneacres that you just write off the list because
Doesn't happen.
just doesn't come out. And I caught it on a bloody zig that I absolutely just pelted out in the middle. I say just pelted, we were out there. I just whipped it out there. Probably it must have gone about 160 yards, like the biggest ever zig cast I've done in my life. And but I needed it to be out there, and he went out there, and I had it, mate. Red, black, 39.5 pound, but
Go on, the boy.
it was sick. But anyway, so since then I didn't do any fishing at all, really.
But you're
now I'm
back. He's back.
I'm back.
One of those linears or Son of Triple or something will be in your arms soon enough, mate.
I've been keen as mustard. It's probably why I've been catching. I've had 7 bites up to now.
That's good going.
Up to about mid for 32s was the biggest. And yeah, that's quite good going by all accounts. I know a lot of the lads on there, and to come back and then there's still some lads on there now that I haven't caught all year. Or been struggling since it reopened, and it's not down. I'm doing a few bits and bobs different, but I think it's definitely down to I'm keen at the minute. I'm not sleeping. I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm on them, on it, driven. Not. It's quite easy to fall into relaxation mode at this time of year. People might have been all guns blazing in the spring, and you can sometimes
burn out.
I know where they are. I know what they're doing now. I've been on all year. I know I'm just like,
you're fresh, mate, aren't you? There's some fish in there, though. That Johnny Mack, you talked about him before, but that linear he had, there's so many mega fish in there, mate. You'll have them soon enough. I definitely know you will. Business-wise, think food.
Yeah.
Think with an F. I like that. Like we've done there, mate. Talk to me about that brainchild and why, because obviously railway and rail work's gone. Was that always catering, that sort of food side of stuff? I don't really see that as you know what I mean?
Basically, mate, again, this is me always sort of, that people might not know me for my business brain as such, but I have. So I've worked on the railway, but I've had multiple businesses alongside the railway all the time. More so recently, I'm quite, entrepreneur, if you like, entrepreneurial.
Yes, the one.
So I do various different things that I won't go into detail with. I've always had that railway there as my, because it turns out, I was only doing 1-2 days a week with it. It was great money, the shifts and all that. So I've always kept that, and just always squoze everything in business wise. I was just trying to sort of get across the aspect that is the way I've always been. I've always liked my own little thing. Like I've got a few patents within the fishing industry and other industries as well. So I'm just trying to show so people understand that I'm not just a fisherman, Scott, if you know what I mean.
No,
but I don't think people know that side to me. So
100%.
I've dipped my toe in many different things, and I've always wanted to have a fishing business for obvious reasons. Not to suck the money off fishermen, but because it's my passion, and if I can do something within fishing and make money from it, which I've made odds and sods of money through fishing over the years. But, if I can do something, but again, at the same time, do something that actually helps people and people want to use, then it's a win-win. And I always thought I was going to do a tackle range.
Yeah.
I actually registered the company Essential Tackle, because I do this whole essential, non-essential thing, don't I? But I've just kiboshed that because of this. Well, I did kibosh that because of this. I was going to start like a few maybe niche products, and build it that way, almost like you sort of say Thinking Angles type thing did, but it's on long roads and it's very sewn up, and
competitive.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot of money, a lot of time, and a lot of effort to something that's already being done, and I never eventually got round to it, and I've worked on a few product ideas with different companies and stuff like that, and channeled them that way. But then Think Food, this is actually the first time I spoke sort of openly about it sort of being my thing, and I've never really wanted to make a point that it's mine, and try and the reason I sort of did that, I feel, is because I didn't want it to just be like that. I'm trying to just latch on to my name within fishing and my followers, like, oh, use this because it's me. I wanted people to sort of see it for what it is and how good of a business it is, and almost organically want to use it, if that makes sense. But yeah, I'm speaking openly about it because obviously it's come up, and the way it all started actually is me and a friend of mine, lifelong friend of mine, Brownie, Scott Brown. We've been mates since school, and we started Think Food into fitness because I'm dead fit.
What is this?
So basically, Think Food started in fitness. He's the fit guy.
Yeah.
If you saw him, he's a big lad, cut up. He's not one of these big sort of juice head type things. He's cut up. He's into his fitness and that.
Yeah.
And we bought a unit outside of a gym. Our mate's gym, actually, big container unit type thing with a hot seat now and all that. We bought a unit and we converted it into a food unit outside of our mate's gym, and selling food from it, and it's called Think Food Fitness. And we were selling food directly outside of the gym, to people. That's where it all started. I had the business mind, he had the fitness sort of drive, and knew that world. And we knew it was a goer because we had direct custom outside of our sort of local people that we know anyway, and it's got a lot of members going through. It was great. It's great business. That's still there today. And then all of a sudden we were going to look into doing like your muscle. You ever heard of muscle food and that sort of stuff? Yeah. Going to do the prep meals that we do. Delivery.
Yes,
we were going to do delivery.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden one night I just had this idea, like, lay down in bed, because I write a lot of my ideas that I come up with in bed. I do a lot of thinking when I'm way down. I have a book next to me, in my notes and my phone. I'm mad at it, like all sorts of stuff in there. Aladdin's cave. But yeah, basically I just thought, I could niche this into fishing. Everyone eats in fishing. Yeah. Especially me, I struggle with food, as you'll know, as anyone probably that knows me that's watching this. I've always struggled with food at fishing.
Pot noodles.
Yeah, I'm never equipped for it. I'm never take the right stuff. It is the least thing on my agenda. It was annoyance to stop at the shop. I'm just driven to get, and I just want to go. And when I did stop, I just grabbed this, same things. As long as I got me milk, as long as I got this, a few bags of crisps, bit of crap, take away when I fucking get there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm getting older now. Got a set of boobs and everything here, mate. Need to get on my Think Food Fitness.
Think Food Fitness, mate. I was going to say, you need to go to the branch.
So, there was loads of things straight away from my point of view that I thought, this works really well. Yeah. And then as I started to really delve into it, I started to think, you know what? Not only does it solve a problem, and there is other delivery services that sell food, there is shops that do it, but I thought it's about these little things that niche it to fishing, so portion sizes, you know what I mean? So we're not having to buy full pack of bacon, full pack of sausage, full punnet of mushrooms, full pack of eggs to get an English breakfast, all that. Just getting it as portioned down to 2 bacon, 2 eggs, 2 bacon, 2 sausage, single egg. All them sort of things were going to be the niches that make it stood out. And then we come up with a point system and all that sort of stuff. So, Tesco give you points to spend back in Tesco. Yeah. What we do is we give points to trade in for tackle rewards. Yeah, you're not going to gain a bloody bivvy overnight, but over the time, if you're using it, you've got to get food anyway, so why not build up points to get fishing tackle? There was loads of stuff, and I kept it so quiet, and the idea was there, and then we basically, it was born like a child. We started to get serious about it last October, so we got big industrial units, started to bring in the right people. Yeah. Built everything from brand new, so we got the industrial unit, and then we built everything in there. So we've got brand new butchery, prep rooms, all the walk-in, fridge, freezers, all that. Big mezzanine upstairs from where all the ambient long life stuff is. And I didn't know diddly squat about food really, mate, as you probably know. But I know more about food now than I know about anything, because I basically did everything from scratch. And again, this is all through mine and my friend's own money that we've saved over. We haven't had any investment and this, that, and the other. Not that that's an issue, but That's how we did it. So we were budgeted. You know, we had to do it right. We had enough money to get us to where we wanted to be. The packagings and all that sort of stuff. It had to be right. You know, it's got to look cool. It's got to be biodegradable. It's got to be all these things.
I think that's a great, as you say, like the main concept's brilliant because of convenience. And that is massive when you're angling, especially with limited time. If you could fill up my van as well for me and I could have my like shopping delivered for my session, I might never leave. Do you know, I just go straight to fishing. It's perfect. But the other things about biodegradable packaging, that's a nice touch in the modern day system. Yeah, there's a lot of waste.
No waste. No waste of food. You know, like I say, how much stuff do you end up throwing away? If you buy if you go, right, I'm having this for breakfast, this for lunch, this for tea, and there's a few snacks in between, there's no waste.
Yeah.
And that's what I've noticed. So I was using it for a while before anyone could use it. Obviously testing all the meals and all that. Great days they were, you know, doing all the testing.
We'll have 5 meals today, I think, for breakfast.
But even you know, even things down to the packaging being square, it had to be square so it fits in.
Yeah.
We're working on some bits right now, but basically buying, say for instance, like I said, the full English, what you'd have to buy from Tesco or Sainsbury's or whatever, and what you'd have to buy from us. But we're not just comparing it on price, comparing it on capacity and weight and stuff, because these are big things in fishing. How much space does it take up in your bag? I've got a little Thinking Anglers food bag, and I could take 3 days worth of food in that bag now, because it's all portioned down to specific sizes rather than I've got to buy a full lettuce and you know what I mean? Full stick of black pudding when I just need a slice. And so, you know, so there's loads of plus and benefits. And what I'm really happy with, you know, it was great marketing, really. We didn't want it to go like that, but, you know, a lot of people really shredded it to bits on Facebook and that when it started. Well, we knew it was going to take a tanning, but, you know, that's sort of gone to bed now. Everyone that is using it is loving it.
How did you react to that then initially because obviously you've got a preconception. It was absolutely savaged, mate.
Yeah.
There's a lot of new ideas.
Oh, it got hit, but to be honest, we didn't really, with the initial video, we didn't want to jump at all the plus points of using think foods in fishing, and we still haven't given them all out to show why this niche is more into fishing, why to use this more than you would use a supermarket, or why we feel you should use it. We didn't jump into every single plus point in the first video because you can't put every single positive about your business. So we sort of teased it with the initial video, with the lads all saying a little bit about why they like think foods and why they use it. And it was easy for people to get the preconception of, I could just get that from the shop, or I could just do that. All people jumped to conclusions without looking into that. You know, I imagine the people that said things didn't even look at the site. And I know a lot of people that have messaged me. I've had so many people message me like, mate, this think food's pretty good, isn't it? He said, I'll be honest, I digged at it when I first saw it. And now I'm starting to see all these things that you are actually doing to help and improve people's, not only eating on the bank, but the convenience of how to get it and all these other things that I've mentioned, you know, it actually works, doesn't it?
I think that's sometimes a hard thing, isn't it? Because like the culture now, especially around social media when something launches, is there's an instant reaction. Everything's instant. Like it doesn't even have to be necessarily true or whatever, but it's all about getting there first and putting something in. And half the comments that I see on various other things that have launched that are new are like, they're always inherently negative, but the full picture's not actually been covered. And over time, when people sort of take a bit more time to maybe look into it, or more stuff comes out subsequently, there's sort of a moment of realization where they think, oh right, well actually that first reaction is a bit off key. All right, I'm probably still don't like this element, but that's actually pretty good. So there is a bit of a culture that I think I see that with a lot of launch.
Definitely, and when them things come out, it's always going to be a bit of an hard pill to swallow, I reckon. But you know what? It did not faze me. I didn't react. I never would. I've had some savage things said to me on social media over the years before all this, and I just laugh it off. You know, best thing to do is smile, laugh. I understand people, you know what I mean? I know why it happens. It shouldn't happen, but I understand why it happens, and I know it's there. So, you know, just get on with it. What affects my life is you know, moving forward, you know. And basically, it was free marketing advice for me. Believe it or not, you know, because that's my side of the business. That's worth mentioning. So just so people that are listening and interested in it, I don't have anything to do with the fit. I was just basically, the mind of the idea. And, we've got a master butcher, we've got the prep chefs, we've got all them people that do these things, with the food. So that's all. I'm not sat in my bloody shed cooking steak, cutting down cattle and that. It's a fully, it's a proper outfit, and that's how we wanted it, because we didn't want to start it small and niche and have maybe a bigger fish come in and suck up because we're niching something into an industry and it's not been done. We've had one person who was a butcher that sold into fishing.
Yes.
And then we had, I remember there was one military style sort of type meals where it was like little tiny portion down backpack stuff that many, many years ago. Almost like if you were going into a bunker for 70 years, you know what I mean? Like tins of
some tight swims in Denton.
Stuff that lasts about 8 years life and that. So yeah, it was that's basically it, really, mate. I can't remember where I was going with that then, but yeah, basically I don't have anything to do with that side of things. And yeah, that was it. Free marketing advice. So I love to come up with new ideas and. Obviously we've got people who work on the development of the menu and stuff like that. The thing is, we worked once with quite a basic menu because we couldn't, because of COVID and all that. A lot of meals weren't, we were due micro testing back and that, and it was just all held up. So I just said, you know what, let's just launch with what we've got, and we'll add to it as we go. We'll showcase it. There's loads of great ideas in coming. There's some really good stuff, real exciting stuff. But like I say about the negativity that went at it was free marketing advice for me. I just spun that negative into a positive, I think. So I just basically looked at the comments and thought, right, so a lot of people are sort of comparing it to a supermarket. So for me, I see that as a, so how do we show that it isn't like a supermarket? I've turned that negative comment, and then when they see that, how the video or the post that was showing what makes us different from a supermarket, they then think of them and like, oh shit, I was one of the guys who said that. I thought it was like a supermarket. It's actually quite good, this. So I used it all, and it still continue to use it now on some of the stuff that we've got coming up and coming out. So
fair play to you, mate. Yeah. Like climate wise, everything wise, in terms of an industry, everything's moved on. There's been more people angling. There's been a lot of changes, but to launch something that's yours and have the idea and take it from drawing board through to an actual product is it's admirable, mate. You've got to be a lot to be proud of there.
Cheers, mate. I want to thank the lads as well that have helped me along the way, including the lads, and some of the lads in this building, all the lads, and that's what's been nice as well. They all supported the idea, they loved it, they gave some great feedback and tweaks and constructive criticism as to what we should change and still continue to, anything that they feel we could add, but they basically said, yeah, we'll back you, and a lot of it, even like say from the magazines, we'll do it, we'll help you, we'll push it for you. And I think that's the whole way I've been in fishing, swinging back round, which I've never planned to do that. Like I've not done them things and then thought one day I'll be able to use them for my business. It's just so that so happened come around. I've got a now fishing business, and I've basically asked for, oh, can I do this, or will you post this, or can I do a piece in the mag, and not a problem, Scott. And it's nice that them things are starting to swing around, and that's why it always shows, try and be as nice as you can to anyone, because you never know when you might need them or want a little bit of an hand. And yeah, it's been great. And now the sort of warriors have gone to bed a little bit. Well, they've gone. I haven't had a single negative comment since launch day now. The people that are loving it and using it and reusing it, and right, honestly, the amount of great feedback that I get, that's what powers me to push it more and more. People messaging in all sorts, mate, my lake's there and the supermarket's there. So, they're sort of things that I didn't even think of. You know what I mean? Because I live right near a supermarket. Whereas you've got some guy who lives down the lanes, he's got to drive into some mad town. Yeah. And he's like, mate, you just bring it to my door. I can just, or people saying, mate, I bought 5 nights worth. I'm freezing this much. I'm doing overnighters. And it's like, it's portioning down. It's convenience. And I won't dig it out too much, mate, because we just plugged it for about 3 hours there.
Going to say, mate, this is getting heavily edited.
This is the Think Food podcast.
Think Food, and it's sponsored by. Well, it's definitely
it's
not
nice to actually talk about it openly, mate.
Well, you haven't bought any. You should have bought some, mate, couldn't you?
I did.
You could
we
have
sell
sponsored
Walker's
the podcast.
Crisp, mate.
You could have sponsored.
We sell
the
your
podcast.
Walker's Crisp. We sell everything: fags, booze. And, mate, I've got my alcohol license.
Do you think sort of a clean?
I had to do an alcohol license.
Did you?
Yeah. Got my alcohol license. They're the hardest things that they were to set up. The legalities. i.e. insurances,
Yeah.
that type of stuff, all the T's and C's, all that stuff, that was all the groundwork. This isn't, like say for instance fishing bait. You're just putting bait in fish's mouths. There's some real good laws and that coming into it now. But when you're giving people food, there's food
human
poisoning.
consumption.
You've got all your micro testing and all that. And
Your
all
freezer can go down. You can miss podcasts. Do you know what I mean? You flipping do what you want, boy.
Right. What are
Lloyd,
we saying? Have we had a binder?
You have been brilliant, as I knew you would. But what I'm more impressed at is that you've sat in one spot.
You're fucking chaining legs to the table. There's a
are
ball
my
and
legs.
chain here, guys.
He's a wooden chair leg. But before you go, quick fire questions.
Oh, here we go.
All right. Your last part, you've done very well. I've thoroughly enjoyed my time with you.
Noodle rig.
Describe yourself in 3 words.
Oh, dickhead's one word, isn't it? 3 words. Energetic, positive, and I don't know. All round nice guy.
That's a lot of words. All round.
I don't know.
Nice.
Positive,
Good.
energetic, and addictive. Addictive personality.
Nice.
There you go.
Nice. One carp you wish you'd caught.
The Goldendale Common still haunts me. Lost it.
Last meal on the bank, what would it be?
What did they have?
You have to choose. No, you have to choose.
Oh,
a last
right.
meal
Sorry.
on the bank.
Oh man, it's got to be a ribeye, hasn't it? Ribeye steak.
That's it?
Yeah, ribeye steak. Oh,
What?
takeaway, innit?
Peppercorn
Curry.
sauce or not?
Chinese.
You can't have 3 full
An
last
Indian,
meals, mate.
a Chindian, a Chinese, and an Indian.
I bet you've had a few of them for
I
breakfast,
have.
mate. haven't
Chindians
you?
are
You're
epic.
wrong then.
Go on, mate.
Celebrity, dead or alive, that you'd like to take fishing.
Oh, I can't think of a name. No, I'm joking.
I was
Celebrity dead of what? In any profession, celebrity?
yeah, celebrity, mate.
Oh, Adam Sandler.
Would it
He's-
be Adam
yeah,
Sandler?
he's funny,
The water
mate.
boy, Barbie Boucher.
Yeah, my mama said, Adam Sandler, why not? He's a funny guy, man.
I reckon he
Call
quite
him
li-
out. Call him out. Tell him to get him on church.
Adam Sandler, if you manage to reply to this, I will get you and Scott Lloyd personally on church and pay for it. So Adam
And I'll
Sandler,
bring the
if you want
food.
it, you'll have to do a podcast, Adam, but like as
Right.
Bobby Boucher. Drum and bass or country and western?
Oh, it's got to be drum and bass, hasn't it?
That's
Is that good?
yodeling.
Is that
That's
not
not
country and western?
Country western's like Dolly Parton.
Yeah, I thought Dolly Parton yodels.
Yodel, mate.
She's a yodeler.
Or better than that.
Google it. Go on.
Only fish boilies or never fish boilies again?
Oh, God. Put me on the spot here. Only fish boilie.
Oof. Weakest part of your angling?
Weakest part, range. But, and you got dinghy.
Pub or nightclub?
Pub down the club.
24 hours versus Tom Maker on linear. Who wins?
Oh, God. Well, I've beat him before.
I've heard this.
I've beat him. Is this quick fire, innit? I've done it, but he did ring me and say it's going off in the swim next to me. Do you want the swim? And I went down, got in there and clumped them and then left.
That's what you need to do.
I left as I was ahead. I was like, mate, gotta go.
Oh, the fridge
I
is
win.
broke.
And then I called it a match. We weren't calling it a match until I'd left. I was like, yeah, I won the match.
You did it a few years in a row, didn't you?
Yeah, he battered me every
Yeah.
time after them. Yeah, we didn't mention them.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, so make would win hands down, mate.
Nice.
I'm actually thinking about guesting him on Dinton.
Oh, I don't do that.
I can't wait. I think he's going to terminate that lad.
That's what I mean.
He, honestly, I know we're quick fire questions here, but I'm telling you now, he anywhere you send him, people think he's just a bites angler, you know,
Oh,
because that's the way he's perceived, because that's the fishing that he likes to do. But that lad could catch fish anywhere he goes.
And he's an absolute legend of a boy, isn't he?
Yeah,
a lovely bloke.
Not a bad word, not a bad bone
No,
in his body, not a
top
bad
boy.
word to say about him. Go.
Pick one angler that you'd like to fish with, past or present.
I'd say Paul Coxen, who I mentioned earlier, the disability. I'd love him to know. I hope he does know what I've done because of what he helped me to start off doing.
I like that. Slip
Yeah,
and
man.
slide, Paul Coxen.
Slip and slide, I like that.
Last question. Nighting with the missus or hit the lake on the end of a big pressure drop and a fresh southwesterly?
Fishing all day long.
Fishing. Lloyd, you've been a legend, mate. Thank you so much. Thank you all for listening, watching. No doubt you'll see more of this man with some dints and bangers in the future because you will catch him, mate. Think Food, check that out if you haven't already had a big enough plug on here. Please leave us a review. Scott, mate, I'll see you soon. And somehow I've managed this podcast without an egg on my head, mate. So that's
Happy
absolutely
days, Eggy Lad.
Yeah, exactly. Cheers, mate. See you later.
Yeah, Eggy out.